Chapter 1998. Dao Master Kong Ming's speed was astonishingly fast. In just an instant, he had stepped out of the Kong Ming Dao sect's territory. This speed is absolutely comparable to a quasi-sage. The white tiger was moved. This old guy can clearly only unleash the strength of a half-step quasi-sage now, but his speed is so fast. At the same time, all the disciples of the Kong Ming Dao sect trembled when they saw this scene. Lord Dao Master, he actually. These disciples found it hard to believe that the most powerful person in their sect had actually fled at this time. Lin Tian looked at the fleeing Dao Master Kong Ming. His expression did not change, but it became colder. In the next moment he moved. He circulated the reincarnation forging soul technique, and 10 times his strength instantly superimposed. Then, he used the duality steps and seemed to disappear from this world in an instant. The next moment, he appeared outside the Kong Ming Dao sect. This speed! The white tiger's eyes widened. It's actually several times faster than that old guy. Almost as soon as it finished speaking, Lin Tian had already stepped far away and directly blocked down Master Kong Ming's path. You! How is this possible? Dao Master Kong Ming immediately turned pale. His current speed was definitely not something a God Emperor could compare to. But now, Lin Tian, a God Emperor, had caught up to him in the blink of an eye and blocked his path. Lin Tian blocked in front of this person, his voice calm and cold. I said, your ending today is death. As he spoke, he raised the rainbow divine sword in his hand and slashed down with absolute killing intent. Clang! An ear-piercing sword cry shook the sky. A rainbow sword light that was hundreds of feet long condensed and slashed the sky. Facing this destructive sword, Dao Master Kong Ming's expression immediately changed. He could not help but shout. Stop, stop! Poof! The rainbow sword light slashed down as expected. A bloody mist exploded, instantly annihilating everything. For a time, this place became much quieter. Hey! This old guy tried to kill us with just a wisp of his divine soul back then. He wanted to suppress the little Tai Chu and almost succeeded. After that, he even sent a few god kings to the lower realm to kill Brat Lin. Who would have thought that he would end up like this? Wishing Crocodile sneered. Within the Kong Ming Dao sect, the other cultivators trembled even more violently. How is this possible, Lord Dao Lord? He was actually... All of the Kong Ming Dao sect's disciples, including the Kong Ming Dao sect master and the others who had recovered from their injuries, paled. The strongest expert of their bloodline in this era had been killed just like that. Damn it! Damn it! The Dark Sky sect master clenched his fists in anger. Originally, the Kong Ming Dao sect master was extremely powerful. However, not long ago, the Kong Ming Dao sect master was injured outside. His strength had greatly decreased, and he no longer had the strength of a Saint King. Moreover, some of the other sect's experts had died. He and the other Grand Elders were originally saints, and the sect had a protective array. However, Lin Tian used the rare Oblivion Demon Vein as a weapon, causing all of them to be unable to display their peak combat strength. The protective array was also corroded and temporarily unable to be activated. All of their strengths could not be displayed. From the beginning to the end, they had been suppressed by Lin Tian, who was far weaker than them. Now, even the strongest ancestor of their bloodline had been killed. This result made them feel aggrieved. None of them could accept it, and their hearts were filled with rage. The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. Outside the Kong Ming Dao sect, Lin Tian moved and stepped back into the Kong Ming Dao sect in the blink of an eye. Thief! The Kong Ming Dao sect master roared as he rushed over. Unable to suppress the anger in his heart, he charged towards Lin Tian. At the same time, the other Grand Elders of the Kong Ming Dao sect also rushed over, their faces filled with murderous intent. Their Kong Ming Dao sect had been passed down for countless years. Now, a divine emperor cultivator had barged into their sect and acted so wantonly, and they could not stop him. This was something that they could not accept, and they almost went crazy. Lin Tian frowned. After pausing for a moment, he raised the seven-colored divine sword again. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. As he spoke, the seven-colored divine sword slashed down forcefully. He had only come here to kill the Kongming Dao sect master and take the Kongming Dao sect's cultivation resources. He had not thought of killing anyone else. Otherwise, there would have been a large number of Kongming Dao sect's disciples dying tragically since he had come here. It would be impossible for him to only kill the Kongming Dao sect master until now. But now, he had changed his mind. These people were crazy for wanting to kill him. Moreover, their strength was not ordinary. He did not want to let them go. Since they wanted to kill him, then he would kill them. With a clang, the seven-colored killing light descended like the Milky Way, instantly covering the Kongming Dao sect master and the others. The sharp sword might directly suppressed everything. Ah! A bloody mist exploded along with a blood-curdling scream. In just an instant, the Kongming Dao sect master and the Supreme Elders were all slashed into pieces. At the same time, their spiritual bodies were not preserved. Under Lin Tian's seven-colored divine sword that was filled with killing intent, they were completely obliterated. This time, the entire Kongming Dao sect was dead silent. The group of ordinary elders, deacons, and disciples of the Kongming Dao sect were all terrified and could not stop trembling. Lin Tian tilted his head and swept his gaze across the group of cultivators in the Kongming Dao sect. He paused for a moment and said, "If you don't want to die, leave this place. If you want to die, stay." As soon as these words were spoken, the group of cultivators in the Kongming Dao sect could not help but tremble again. In the next moment, the group of cultivators moved together and rushed out of the Kongming Dao sect. Their speed was many times faster than usual. At this time, these people understood the meaning behind Lin Tian's words. He would not start a massacre. As long as they left the Kongming Dao sect, he would attack them. Therefore, why would these people foolishly stay here? After all, their sect master, and Supreme Elder were all dead. No matter what, they were no match for Lin Tian. Under such circumstances, there was no point in foolishly staying behind to die. Preserving their lives was the most valuable thing. Whoosh! 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 The sound of something breaking through the air rang out one after another. After a few dozen breaths, all the Kongming Dao sect's disciples, deacons, and elders had left the Kongming Dao sect and shot further away. Soon, they all disappeared from the sight of Lin Tian and the others. They ran really fast, Wishing Crocodile said. The white tiger rolled his eyes. Can't they run faster? Lin Tian did not mind. His gaze swept across some special places in the Kongming Dao sect. Search for the rare treasures accumulated by this sect. Hearing his words, the Wishing Crocodile and the white tiger's eyes lit up. Move! The Wishing Crocodile howled. Chapter 1999. The Kongming Dao Master, and the Grand Elders of this branch were all killed by Lin Tian. The other ordinary elders, deacons, and disciples of the Kongming Dao sect had all fled. The vast Kongming Dao sect was very quiet for a moment. It's really big. The largest immortal court we established in the immortal domain is not even a corner of this place. The Wishing Crocodile clicked his tongue and said. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He brought the Wishing Crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Taichu into the Kongming Dao sect. He walked towards the treasury of this branch, and soon took out many rare treasures. Among them, there was a holy venerable level ancient scripture, thousands of quasi-saint level artifacts, and a lot of exotic Baodan, natural treasures, and Lingjing. Their value could be said to be shocking. We're rich! The white tiger's eyes lit up and almost drooled. With all the rare treasures they collected in the Kongming Dao sect, the Wishing Crocodile, and the little Taichu could all reach the deity emperor realm in a very short time. Let's go. Lin Tian now. He took all the treasures in the Kongming Dao sect. He took the Wishing Crocodile, the little Taichu, and the white tiger into the sky and activated the 5 heaven-shaking lightning art. blinding lightning struck down one after another. After a few dozen breaths, the Kongming Dao sect's mountain range and ancient palace were all split into pieces. The vast Kongming Dao sect was turned into ruins in the blink of an eye. Smoke and dust rose from the ground. He glanced at the ruins of the Kongming Dao sect and left with the wishing crocodile, the little Taichu, and the white tiger. Not long after, they crossed a great distance. After a few hours, they entered a relatively ordinary mountain range. He found an extremely secluded place in this mountain range and set up one concealment formation after another. After that, he took out all the extraordinary baodan and natural treasures he obtained from the Kongming Dao sect that could improve his cultivation. Moon scale grass, illusion flame plant, lemon shadow mark pellet, 9 heavens jade dew ointment, phoenix spirit soul returning fruit, they are all useful for cultivators below the great supreme god realm. After you absorb them, you should be able to reach the peak of the divine emperor realm. The amount of heavenly and earthly treasures in baodan was not a lot, but it was not a small amount either. He took them all out and placed them in front of the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Taichu. Refine, refine, refine! Wishing crocodile became excited and immediately operated the ancient scriptures with the white tiger and little Taichu to refine these immortal plants and baodan. For a moment, 3 different kinds of treasure splendor intertwined in this place, and the essence, energy, and spirit of all 3 of them rose rapidly. Lin Tian stood aside quietly to protect them. Just like that, 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. 1 month later, the moon scale grass, illusion flame plant, lemon shadow mark pellet, 9 heavens jade dew ointment, and phoenix spirit soul returning fruit were all refined by the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Taichu. Their cultivation improved greatly, and just as Lin Tian expected, they all reached the peak of the great supreme god realm. Awesome! This is awesome! The white tiger was excited. In just 3 months, it, the wishing crocodile, and the little Taichu had all advanced by a whole realm. The wishing crocodile was also very excited. In the past, the chaotic realm was its limit, but now, it was about to reach the great supreme god realm. Thinking about it, it felt like a dream. Only the little Taichu was not excited. It blinked its big eyes. Even though it had been born for so long, it still looked like a child. At this moment, Lin Tian flicked his finger, and 3 rays of treasure light flew out. They were a pagoda, a saber, and a shield. They were all saint-grade precious weapons. They were taken from the Kongming sect master and the others. He took out 3 of them and gave 1 each to the wishing crocodile, the little Taichu, and the white tiger. As for the other baodan, ancient scriptures, and divine weapons, we have no use for them. We'll bring them back to the immortal court in the future, he said with a smile. After bringing these treasures back to the immortal court, the combat strength of our immortal court will have another shocking change, the wishing crocodile said. Lin Tian nodded. Divine radiance intertwined and wiped out the great formations engraved in this place. He left with the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Taichu. Soon after, their group traveled far into the distance. After several hours passed, they crossed several dozen immortal mountain ranges in succession. Where are we going next? The white tiger asked Lin Tian now. Lin Tian thought for a while and said, We'll find a place with abundant spiritual energy and divine chi to let the sacred domain grow. The growth of the sacred domain required a lot of spiritual energy. In order for the sacred domain to grow, abundant spiritual energy was very necessary. One of the most important reasons he entered the celestial void realm was to absorb the abundant spiritual energy and divine chi in the celestial void realm so that the sacred domain could grow quickly. This was because the sacred domain was evolved from the world seed. It was very meaningful. At the end of evolving the sacred domain, he might be able to obtain a power that was even stronger than order. This was undoubtedly very tempting. The wishing crocodile said, A place with abundant spiritual energy and divine chi. Let's ask a few heaven realm cultivators about this. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of a sword reverberated, suddenly interrupting its words. In the distance, a sword ray slashed over. It was incomparably fierce and contained a tyrannical saint's might, causing the group to be shocked. Lin Tian acted immediately. He circulated the Heart Sutra of Sun, and golden divine light enveloped the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu. He moved several thousand feet away to avoid this fierce sword. Then, he tilted his head and looked in the direction where the sword ray came from. There 7 figures appeared. Their bodies were mixed with saint-level waves, and they were wearing the same black robes. Found them. They're related to those sinners. Suppress them and search their consciousness directly. Find traces of those sinners. Take back the lost stone key. The 7 people's eyes were cold. Some time ago, Lin Tian displayed the unique divine technique of Ao Jiantianzuan and the others. News of him being related to Ao Jiantianzuan and the others had already spread to many places. Many branches of the Celestial Court found out, and many experts were sent to search for him. These 7 people were the experts of the Celestial Court. At this moment, even though the 7 people could see that Lin Tian and the others' cultivation was only at the Celestial Emperor realm, they still attacked at the same time and pressed over together. This was because those who were related to those sinners involved a lot of people. They had to suppress them at the first possible moment. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. Hearing these 7 people's words, he naturally guessed their origins in an instant. Moreover, he also saw through the intertwining auras of the 7 people's bodies. They're all at the 9th heaven of the quasi-saint realm. It was also at this moment that the 7 people directly pressed forward with a rumble. 7 waves of saint power completely sealed off the surroundings. He, the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu were all suppressed by the saint power in the blink of an eye. Their bodies were all in pain. However, his expression did not change at all. He was not afraid at all. Then, in the next moment, his thoughts moved slightly. A treasure seal rushed out of his body, intertwining with dense divine inscriptions. It immediately exuded an extremely dense Saint King aura. Under his control, it faced the 7 people. This is a Saint King weapon! He has a Saint King weapon? Chapter 2000. As soon as the Saint King precious weapon appeared, the Saint King's aura was vast and mighty, causing the 7 secondary saints of the Celestial Court to turn pale. The 7 of them were now at the 9th heaven of the secondary saint realm, and their cultivation was much higher than Lin Tian's. However, after Lin Tian used the Saint King precious weapon with his godly emperor cultivation, the power was definitely not something a secondary saint could withstand. Retreat first! Among the 7, the one in the middle said in a low voice. He quickly retreated and chose to leave at a very fast speed. Immediately after, the other 6 quasi-saints followed suit and retreated along the path they had come from. Lin Tian looked at the backs of the 7 people as they left. He activated the reincarnation forging mind technique and instantly increased his battle strength tenfold. His speed also increased tenfold. Using the yin-yang steps, he stopped the 7 people in the blink of an eye. "Since you're here, there's no reason to leave again," he said calmly, and the Saint King precious seal pressed down. With a rumble, the void in all directions collapsed immediately. It could not withstand the Saint King precious weapon that was activated with tenfold battle strength. The 7 secondary saints of the Celestial Court attacked with all their might. Saint power surged as they met the attack together. However, they could not withstand it at all. The saint power that they released was crushed by the Saint King precious seal in the blink of an eye. Then, the precious seal bloomed with saint light and sent the 7 people flying with loud bangs. Each of them coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Lin Tian stepped forward. Using the yin-yang steps tenfold, his speed was astonishing. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside the 7 people who were flying. Without any unnecessary movements, he shook the precious seal and pressed it down directly. Poof! One of them was hit by the precious seal and exploded on the spot. Only his spirit survived and quickly escaped. Lin Tian's expression was calm. He activated the Heavenly Sword manual with the precious seal and slashed out a brilliant sword ray, slashing at the spirit. This person instantly revealed a horrified expression, and his flying speed increased by a few notches. However, the sword ray that Lin Tian released was even faster. In the blink of an eye, it slashed in front of the spirit and went straight through it. Ah! A miserable cry rang out. This person's soul was pierced through, and he disappeared on the spot. When the other 6 celestial court quasi-saints saw this scene, they were both shocked and furious. As expected of someone who is closely related to those criminals. How dare he kill us celestial court cultivators? Lin Tian spat. You came to kill me, but you don't allow me to kill you? He maintained the seal and pressed it towards the 6 people. Furthermore, there's no need to be surprised. I've killed people from the celestial court before. This isn't the first time. You insolent thing! The 6 of them had ugly expressions. So what if I'm arrogant? Can you bite me? Lin Tian remained calm. The Saint Ruler's seal, under his tenfold battle prowess, bloomed with dazzling holy light, like a divine sun pressing down. With a rumble, the majestic aura froze the space in all directions, directly enveloping all 6 of them. For a moment, the 6 of them were sent flying at the same time. Lin Tian raised his hand, and the seal pressed down, crashing into one of them, directly destroying his body and soul. Now, his cultivation was at the Goddarch realm, and his strength was enough to deal with a half-stepped quasi-saint. In addition to his tenfold battle prowess, even if he were to battle with an ordinary quasi-saint, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. With the support of such battle prowess, and with the use of a Saint King grade artifact, the battle prowess he could unleash was even enough to fight with an early-stage saint. A few peak quasi-saints wouldn't be able to stop him in this state. Clang! The seal vibrated, and he once again used it to execute the heaven-ascending sword. Dense heaven-ascending sword light once again enveloped the other 5 people. Pft! 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 In the blink of an eye, another 3 people were penetrated, unable to withstand the Saint Ruler power and the Saint Ruler seal, and their bodies and souls were all destroyed. In the blink of an eye, only one of the 7 celestial court quasi-saints remained. Lin Tian stepped forward, and instantly appeared in front of this person, directly suppressing him with the seal, making it hard for him to move. The stone key that those 9 people snatched can open a stone door in a forbidden land. What's behind that stone door? He asked. He didn't have time to ask the UMO back then. Later on, he had asked the old ruffian, but the old guy didn't know. He felt that the people from the celestial court should know something. I don't know. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell you. There was fear in the eyes of this quasi-saint from the celestial court, but he was also very unyielding. He gritted his teeth and said, You sinner, don't be complacent. There are many elites from the celestial court hunting you and those 9 sinners. There just happens to be a Saint King nearby, and he will definitely detect this place very soon. All of you will die without a burial. Shut up. Lin Tian's fist landed on this person's abdomen, forcefully interrupting the latter part of his words, causing him to cough up a large mouthful of blood. Immediately after, he released a wisp of divine thought of the origin and directly entered this person's consciousness to search for what he wanted to know. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. He withdrew the divine thought of the origin and pressed down with the Saint King level seal, directly suppressing this person's body and soul. How is it? What did you find? Whooshing Crocodile stepped forward and asked. Lin Tian shook his head. This quasi-saint from the celestial court really didn't know what was behind the stone door in that ancient land. As far as he knows, in the celestial court, only elites above the Saint King level know a little about that stone door, he said. Saint King. The white tiger looked at Lin Tian and said, Can you still use that sword of yours now? Just now, that guy seemed to have said that there was a Saint King from the celestial court nearby. With that sword you can suppress that Saint King and interrogate him, then you can suppress this king and interrogate him. Can you do that? Suddenly, a cold voice sounded and interrupted the white tiger's words. Not far away, a purple-robed elder appeared and walked over step by step. The Saint King level pressure was surging and intimidating. He was at the 9th heaven of the Saint King level. Lin Tian was immediately moved. Previously, the quasi-saint from the celestial court had said that there was a celestial court Saint King nearby and that he would discover them very soon. He didn't expect that this Saint King would appear in the blink of an eye. "Go!" he said in a low voice. He activated the reincarnation forging mind technique and increased his strength by 10 times. He used it to activate the duality steps and brought the whooshing crocodile, the white tiger, and little Taichu with him, directly fleeing into the distance. A 9th heaven Saint King was definitely not someone they could contend against. Even if they summoned the divine sword in their sea of consciousness, it would be useless. The difference in cultivation was too great. Moreover, he had no way of summoning that divine sword at this moment. He increased his strength by 10 times extremely quickly and brought the whooshing crocodile, the little Taichu, and the white tiger far away in the blink of an eye. The purple-robed Saint King's eyes were cold. He took a step forward and instantly appeared behind Lin Tianyi and the others. He directly reached out his hand and covered Lin Tian and the others. The pressure of a peak Saint King was extremely frightening. Lin Tianji felt his entire body turn cold. He directly propped up his Saint domain to protect his group. At the same time, he activated the Saint King seal with 10 times his battle strength and blasted out a powerful attack. A Saint King weapon, very good! Chapter 2001. It was very difficult for a normal Saint King cultivator to have their own Saint King weapon. Even the strongest cultivator in a sect like Sect Master Kong Ming did not have his own Saint King weapon. He only had a treasure left behind by his ancestor. Therefore, when he saw Lin Tian take out the Saint King seal, the purple-robed Saint King was tempted. His eyes flashed, and he wanted to take it. The Saint King light surrounded him and broke apart Lin Tian's attack with the Saint King seal. He continued to grab at Lin Tian. Lin Tian used the reincarnation forging spirit technique to increase his combat strength by 10-fold. He used the Saint King's seal to launch another round of attacks, which pressed down on the purple-robed Saint King. During this process, he did not stop at all. He used his 10-fold strength to push his speed to the limit. While using the Saint domain to protect his body, he took the whooshing crocodile, white tiger, and little Taichu and quickly escaped into the distance. The purple-robed Saint King snorted coldly. He broke apart Lin Tian's attack with a palm and quickly chased after the group again. "You can't escape." This person's voice was cold. Saint Light intertwined around his body, forming a Saint Rain that pierced towards Lin Tianyi and the others. Lin Tian used the Saint domain to protect his body. As he flew, he used the Saint King seal to attack the purple-robed Saint King again. At the same time, a cauldron rushed out of his body. It was a Saint King weapon that he had taken from the Kongming sect master. At this time, he directly injected his divine power into it, causing the Saint Shi inside to become chaotic. He threw it at the purple-robed Saint King. "Explode!" he said in a low voice and formed a seal. Suddenly, the Saint Shi emitted by the cauldron became extremely chaotic and exploded. The destructive Chi was like a surging Milky Way, pressing down on the purple-robed Saint King. At the same time, he did not stop. He took the whooshing crocodile, white tiger, and little Taichu and continued to fly. The destruction of a saint-level treasure artifact was extremely frightening, but it was not enough to threaten a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. He knew this very well. At this time, he detonated a saint-level precious weapon just to create some interference for the purple-robed Saint King so that they could escape more easily. With a whoosh, he took the whooshing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Taichu, and in the blink of an eye, they were already extremely far away. Boom! Behind him, the saint power surged, and a great palm print of holy light appeared, shattering all the destructive power of the cauldron's self-destruction. The purple-robed saint was unaffected, but his eyes had become colder. A divine emperor cultivator had actually detonated a saint-level precious weapon to interfere with his actions. He had to say that this was somewhat extravagant. He, a dignified peak Saint King, did not have the capital to do such a thing. He was not rich enough to casually detonate a saint-level precious weapon to interfere with his enemy. This made him feel very uncomfortable. Most importantly, Lin Tian had succeeded in stopping him for at least 3 breaths. And his voice was cold. He moved his feet and chased after him again. At this time, Lin Tian took the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu and crossed dozens of mountains, and were very far away. Shook him off? The white tiger's heart palpitated. Lin Tian shook his head. Although he had shaken off the purple-robed Saint King just now, and at this time, he could not even see the other party's figure behind him. However, his divine consciousness could sense the other party's aura, and it was quickly closing in on them. Before long, they would be caught up again. The wishing crocodile frowned. What should we do? With their current strength, it was impossible for them to stop a peaked Saint King. It could be said that they were doomed. Lin Tian frowned and pondered. After pausing for a moment, he gritted his teeth and changed direction, heading south. In the blink of an eye, dozens of breaths passed. He took the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu and walked very far away. The surrounding ancient trees and vegetation gradually became very thin, and the spiritual fluctuations also became very thin. A valley appeared. As far as the eye could see, the valley was intertwined with a hazy gray fog. It was like the fog of death, and it gave people a cold feeling. Just looking at it made people feel as if their souls were about to be swallowed, and it made people feel a chill down their backs. Kid, where is this? The wishing crocodile was moved. 10,000 Death Valley. Rumor has it that a few void sky rank existences have died there. Lin Tian Andao. A few void sky rank existences have died there? The wishing crocodile immediately trembled, and then his expression changed again. Kid, don't tell me you're thinking of jumping into 10,000 Death Valley at this time? Yes. Lin Tian nodded. Previously, when he searched the knowledge sea of the Celestial Court's second sage, he learned that there was such a dangerous place nearby that even void sky rank existences did not dare to enter easily. At this time, he was being chased by a peaked Saint King, so he wanted to use this place to deal with the other party. The white tiger could not help but tremble. Don't act recklessly, kid. This place is too dangerous. Not to mention the fact that a few void sky rank existences have died. Mentioned by Lin Tian, at this time, just looking at it from the outside made it feel as if its soul was about to be swallowed. It could clearly feel that the inside of this place was very dangerous. There's no other way. If we don't go in, it will be more dangerous for us. It's a dead end. Lin Tian Andao. The wishing crocodile and the white tiger immediately froze, because Lin Tian was right. Although this 10,000 Death Valley was very dangerous, there was still a 10% chance of survival. However, if they did not go in and use this place to deal with the purple-robed Saint King, they would easily fall into the purple-robed Saint King's hands and die. At this time, the void rumbled as the purple-robed Saint King's figure appeared behind them and caught up. The whooshing crocodile and the white tiger looked back and immediately trembled. Lin Tian also saw the purple-robed Saint King and did not stop at all. He directly led the whooshing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu into 10,000 Death Valley and were instantly submerged in the gray fog. The purple-robed Saint King chased them to this place and saw this scene. Seeing the valley filled with gray fog, he was immediately moved. Obviously, he also knew how dangerous this place was and that several void sky realm existences had died here. Standing outside 10,000 Death Valley, he hesitated for a moment. He took a step forward, but then retreated. After all, this valley was really dangerous. As such, he hesitated in this place. In the blink of an eye, a dozen breaths passed. After a dozen breaths passed, he finally gritted his teeth and stepped into 10,000 Death Valley. Although this place was dangerous, Lin Tian was related to the 9 sinners. Once he was suppressed, the higher-ups would definitely reward him handsomely. At the very least, it would be a sovereign-grade ancient scripture. Such a reward was undoubtedly very tempting. Lin Tian led the wishing crocodile, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu. At this time, they had already stepped into 10,000 Death Valley. The air was extremely cold, with a chill that seemed to be able to freeze everything. That old bastard also chased in. Whooshing Crocodile cursed. He sensed that the purple-robed Saint King's aura had also appeared in this valley, and was approaching them. Lin Tian naturally also sensed this and said in a deep voice, "Go deeper." 10,000 Death Valley's aura was cold and the terrain was very complex. There were some special earth vein patterns intertwined. Using these earth vein patterns, he led the Whooshing Crocodile, the White Tiger, and the little Tai Chu to move and contend with the purple-robed Saint King. Soon, they had crossed another few thousand feet. Suddenly, huge skeletons appeared one after another in front of them. There were humans and beasts, but they still had some remnant auras. One of the demonic beast skeletons had a wisp of void sky realm aura. There really are such existences that died here. Chapter 2002. The White Tiger trembled, and so did the Whooshing Crocodile. Even the little Tai Chu's eyes widened. Although they had heard from Lin Tian that a few Void Sky Realm experts had died in 10,000 War Valley, seeing the skeleton of a Void Sky Realm expert in this valley still made their hearts palpitate. After all, there was a big difference between seeing it with their own eyes and hearing about it from others. Lin Tian was also shocked, but he quickly regained his composure. "He's coming, let's go!" He glanced behind him and called out to the Whooshing Crocodile, the White Tiger, and the little Tai Chu. Using the terrain of the valley, they continued to move deeper into the valley. At this time, he felt the aura of the purple-robed Holy King rapidly approaching. In the blink of an eye, a full quarter of an hour passed. After a quarter of an hour, the man and the three beasts had walked very far into the valley. Along the way, they did not encounter any evil spirits or vicious beasts, nor did they encounter any great dangers. However, the air was getting colder and colder, and even a little heavy. It was as if there was a galaxy pressing down on this place, and it was about to fall, making them feel suffocated. "Brat, are we still going to go deeper? Lord Tiger feels like I'm going to collapse." The White Tiger panted. "Yeah." The little Tai Chu opened and closed its mouth from time to time. At this time, it also felt a little uncomfortable. Lin Tian frowned. At this time, he also felt a little uncomfortable. It was as if a piece of the sky was pressing down on his shoulders. Even with the support of his saint domain, it was difficult to isolate this uncomfortable feeling. He opened his mouth and said, "Continue, that person is about to catch up, there's no need to continue." A cold voice sounded, interrupting his words. Behind them, the purple-robed Holy King finally caught up at this time. His entire body was covered in holy light as he stared at Lin Tian and the others. "F***CK, this old thing!" The White Tiger cursed. Lin Tian did not say anything. He used his saint domain to protect himself, the White Tiger, Whooshing Crocodile, and little Tai Chu as they continued to move deeper into the valley. The purple-robed Holy King coldly snorted and raised his right hand. Holy light intertwined and pressed down on Lin Tian and the others. Holy might intertwined, and it was extremely terrifying. In the blink of an eye, the Holy King's head fell. Lin Tian used his divine domain to protect himself, and the reincarnation forging spirit art was constantly circulating. He used the dragon burial scripture with 10 times the strength to connect with some of the natural forces in 10,000 War Valley and block the opponent's holy light. Boom! With a rumble, he used the power of the natural layout to block his opponent's holy force. Then, he led the Whooshing Crocodile, White Tiger, and little Tai Chu deeper into Thousand Death Valley. At this time, although he had borrowed some of the power of the earth veins in the valley to block the other party's attack, he had barely managed to block it. Moreover, this was the result of the other party not using his full strength. As for himself, he had already fully displayed his pinnacle-level power. Therefore, he did not dare to stop and could only continue to run. An ant that only knows how to run! The purple-robed Holy King's face was very dark. He stepped forward and chased after Lin Tian. At the same time, he could not help but frown. I didn't encounter any dangers as I expected. But what's with the aura in the valley? After entering Thousand Death Valley, he did not encounter any terrifying dangers. However, the deeper he went into the valley, the more oppressive the air became. His strength was greatly suppressed, and it was difficult for him to display the power of a holy king. I have to suppress him quickly. And that little thing beside him seems to be a descendant of the immortal spirit royal family. His eyes were intertwined with a shocking holy light. Lin Tian led the wishing crocodile, white tiger, and little Tai Chu. With the protection of his holy domain, he had already traveled far away. The air became heavier and heavier, and the layout of the earth veins became more and more complicated. Moreover, more skeletons appeared. Among them, there were a few void sky-level skeletons. It looked very terrifying. Kid Lord Tiger feels that if we continue, it seems like we will die at any time, the white tiger said. In front of them, the gray fog became thicker. One could only vaguely see that there were many huge mountains in the fog. There was no vegetation on the mountains, and they were all red rocks. It was very desolate, but there was a faintly discernible and terrifying aura intertwined in that area. It was as if there was a peerless ferocious beast that could devour the world lying there. Lin Tian frowned. Naturally, he could see that the area in front of them was very scary. However, at this time, he shook his head. No, that person is coming. If we stop, we will only be... Boom! A beam of holy light pierced through from behind. It was extremely fast, and it interrupted Lin Tian's words. Lin Tian supported his holy domain and used the duality steps with 10 times his strength. He moved horizontally and dodged the beam of holy light. The purple-robed holy king caught up again. The holy light outside his body became thicker, and strands of holy runes floated. That's enough. I won't give you any more chances to escape. As soon as he finished speaking, the holy runes floating outside his body moved. They intertwined with an aura that could imprison all things. It was obviously a special sealing divine art that he had been preparing. At this time, it spread out in all directions and completely sealed the space around Lin Tian and the others. Lin Tian's expression changed. At this time, with them as the center, the space within a radius of 100 feet was completely sealed. At this time, they were directly trapped in this area. The purple-robed holy king snorted coldly. He took a step forward and closed in on Lin Tian and the others. At this time, the space here was sealed by his holy king Grey Dao runes. Lin Tian and the others no longer had any possibility of escaping. He did not need to care anymore. He only needed to leisurely suppress the group and then leave Thousand Death Valley. He sneered and walked towards Lin Tian and the others. Holy light intertwined around his body. His saint power lingered in this space. It's over! Wishing Crocodile was on the verge of tears. Lin Tian gritted his teeth and quickly thought of various ways to deal with the situation in front of him. In the end, he could only think of one way: to self-destruct the Holy King's seal that he had obtained from the Kongming Dao sect. The self-destruction of a Holy King weapon would definitely be able to solve the crisis in front of them. Thinking of this, seeing that the other party was constantly approaching, he directly raised the Holy King's seal and channeled a large amount of divine power into it. He twisted the divine power and began to guide the Holy King weapon to self-destruct. Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind swept up in the thick gray fog behind them. It was somewhat cold. There, in the hazy gray fog, a pair of eyes as large as a house suddenly appeared. It was frighteningly deep. Such a scene was naturally seen by Lin Tian and the others, and they could not help but tremble. Even the powerful purple-robed Holy King could not help but tremble. He stopped in his tracks toward Lin Tian and the others. Those eyes were too frightening. It was as if they had seen through everything in the world. It was as if one look could tear everything apart. The eyes as large as a house looked in their direction. They were deep and cold. Get out! A cold voice came from the huge eyes. It shook the entire Thousand Death Valley. An even stronger gust of wind swept over, enveloping Lin Tian and the others, as well as the purple-robed Holy King. It was obvious that it wanted to sweep them out of Thousand Death Valley. However, in the next moment, this wanton gust of wind suddenly dissipated. Chapter 2003. Its eyes were as huge as a house, and its gaze fell on the whooshing crocodile in Lin Tian's group without blinking. This action was naturally seen by Lin Tian and the others. Brother Crocodile, it seems to be looking at you. When did you provoke it? The white tiger trembled. Whooshing crocodile met the gaze of the huge eyes, and the scales all over its body could not help but stand up. After listening to the white tiger's words, its heart palpitated, and it was angry. Provoke my ass! This is the first time Lord Crocodile has come to the heaven realm! Lin Tian was naturally moved as well. He noticed that the fierce eyes were looking at Whooshing Crocodile, but he did not know what the other party meant. He became extremely vigilant, and the light emitted from his holy domain became even stronger. Yeah! Little Taichu opened its big eyes and stared vigilantly at the fierce eyes. Not far away, the purple-robed Holy King also saw the strange look of the fierce eyes, but he did not dare to make a move. This pair of eyes terrified him, and his soul felt like it was about to crack. It was extremely uncomfortable. The gray fog lingered in front, and the gaze of the huge eyes fell on Whooshing Crocodile. Gradually, the surrounding fog dissipated, causing that place to become clear, revealing the fierce eye's true form. It was an incomparably huge exotic beast, shaped like a crocodile. It was at least 100 feet tall, and its body was covered with 5-colored scales. It had a pair of huge wings, and the edges of the wings were intertwined with 5-colored luster. Lin Tian was immediately moved, and his pupils could not help but constrict. Yeah! Little Taichu stared. White Tiger's eyes also widened, and it was completely shocked by the other party's appearance. Then, in the next moment, one man and two beasts could not help but look at Whooshing Crocodile. In front of them, apart from the color of the scales, the color of the wings, and the size of the monster's body, the other parts of the giant beast were simply carved from the same mold as Whooshing Crocodile. The 5 elements crocodile himself also widened his eyes and was stunned. He couldn't even speak properly. You! The 300 tall crocodile looked over. His eyes were still incomparably deep. He looked at the Whooshing Crocodile and said, "Greet your ancestor." Ancestor? Whooshing Crocodile's eyes widened. Beside him, Lin Tian was also shocked. Even though he could tell that the giant crocodile in front of him was related to the Whooshing Crocodile, he still couldn't help but be moved when he heard the giant crocodile say these words. This was the ancestor of the Whooshing Crocodile bloodline? On the other side, White Tiger and Little Taichu were also as shocked as he was. Their eyes widened even more. The giant crocodile looked at Whooshing Crocodile, and its eyes moved. A 5-colored light surrounded it, and a special aura intertwined. This caused Whooshing Crocodile to tremble. The ancient scriptures in its body began to circulate, and a similar 5-colored light intertwined. Moreover, even its bloodline began to beat along with it, resonating with the aura of the giant crocodile's bloodline, causing the void to rumble. The same bloodline aura, the same technique aura. Lin Tian was moved again. He stared straight at the giant crocodile in front of him. This is the crocodile ancestor? Previously, Whooshing Crocodile had mentioned to him that it had obtained an ancient scripture in a dark canyon. It said that it was created by the crocodile ancestor of the Whooshing Crocodile bloodline. It was very compatible with its bloodline, and the ancient scripture had never been changed. Now that he saw this scene, his expression changed. This giant crocodile was the creator of the ancient scripture that Whooshing Crocodile was currently cultivating? The crocodile ancestor that Whooshing Crocodile had never seen before? White Tiger's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Brother Crocodile, this seems to be really your ancestor. Whooshing Crocodile was completely stunned. The other party's bloodline aura and technique aura were exactly the same as its own. It could easily cause the bloodline and technique in its body to resonate with it. Without a doubt, this was the creator of the ancient scripture that it cultivated. It really was its old crocodile ancestor. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air rang out. The purple-robed Holy King moved. At this moment, he rushed out of Wenshang Valley as if he was flying. This peak Holy King naturally saw that the giant crocodile and wishing crocodile were of the same bloodline. So, how could he dare to not make a move? How could he dare to continue staying and not escape? If he continued to stay, he would definitely die. His speed was very fast. In the blink of an eye, he had crossed a great distance. The crocodile ancestor's eyes were deep and cold. He glanced at the purple-robed Holy King who was escaping, and a demonic light directly descended from the sky. Poof! There was no scream, only a bloody mist. This peak Holy King expert was instantly destroyed in both body and soul. Such a scene made Lin Tian and the others gasp involuntarily. A peak-level Saint King was actually obliterated so easily. Brother Crocodile, your ancestor, is a ruthless scum! White Tiger swallowed a mouthful of saliva. In front, the crocodile ancestor's eyes fell on Lin Tian and the others again. The demonic light trembled and turned into a middle-aged man in black. He stepped forward and instantly arrived in front of Lin Tian and the others. He looked at Wishing Crocodile and paused. Your cultivation is not bad. Suddenly seeing a creature of the same bloodline in this place, and one that cultivated the ancient scripture that he had created back then, made him somewhat surprised and somewhat emotional. Wishing Crocodile met the crocodile ancestor's deep gaze and felt that he was completely seen through. You what? Call me ancestor, the crocodile ancestor said. Wishing Crocodile shrunk his neck and met the other party's deep gaze. The pressure was too great. Ancestor. The crocodile ancestor's gaze fell on the little Taichu next to him, and a light intertwined in his eyes. A descendant of the immortal spirit royal family, not bad. Then, his gaze moved and looked at Lin Tian. After a pause, he said, Human, not bad. Lin Tian bowed. Senior, you flatter me. Since it was the ancestor of the wishing crocodile bloodline, he naturally had to bow. Moreover, the other party had killed the purple-robed Holy King, which could be considered as saving their lives. The crocodile ancestor nodded and looked at Wishing Crocodile again. Suddenly meeting the ancestor of his bloodline here, Wishing Crocodile was a little uncomfortable at first because he was not mentally prepared. However, with his carefree personality, he got used to it in the blink of an eye. At this time, he met the crocodile ancestor's gaze and took the initiative to meet it. That ancestor, what are you doing here? Cultivating, and taking something along the way. The crocodile ancestor said. What is it? Wishing Crocodile was puzzled. Then, his eyes lit up. Could it be some kind of heavenly treasure? It's not bad. The crocodile ancestor nodded and said to Wishing Crocodile, Follow me. Human, follow me. As he spoke, he stepped forward and walked towards the depths of Thousand Death Valley. Lin Tian, Wishing Crocodile, Little Taichu, and White Tiger followed behind. Soon they were thousands of feet away. The gray fog that was previously shaken off by the crocodile ancestor's aura intertwined again, completely covering the surrounding space. Even divine consciousness could not see through it. Soon, they followed the crocodile ancestor and entered a mine in the depths of Thousand Death Valley. Here, the crocodile ancestor stopped. This is? Lin Tian saw the other party stop and looked forward. He could not help but tremble. Chapter 2004. In the depths of the mine, as far as the eye could see, there were piles of divine Lingjing. It was difficult to count how many there were, and the divine aura and divine Tao law fluctuations intertwined with each other. Lin Tianyi and the others couldn't help but be shocked. There were so many divine Lingjing, many times more than the sum of the divine Lingjing they had obtained in the Kong Ming ancestors' secret palace and the Kong Ming Dao sect. It was like a treasure trove of divine Lingjing, and its value was difficult to estimate. This is really. Seeing so many divine Lingjing, even with Lin Tian's temperament, he couldn't remain calm at this time. Ancestor, are these divine Lingjing the things you want to obtain? They are extraordinarily valuable. Wishing Crocodile stared straight ahead, almost drooling. Lin Tian was a little speechless when he heard this, and couldn't help glancing at this guy. This crocodile ancestor in front of him, needless to say, was at least a sovereign. For such an existence, the divine Lingjing in this place was as worthless as sand. How could the thing he cared about and wanted to obtain be these divine Lingjing? The crocodile ancestor also glanced at Wishing Crocodile, apparently having the same feeling as Lin Tian, but he didn't say anything. After a pause, he raised his hand slightly, and a 5-colored divine brilliance overflowed, causing the divine Lingjing in front of him to become completely transparent, revealing a place about 100 feet deep, where there was a blood-red metal the size of a head. Vanishing sacred metal! Lin Tianyi was shocked. Back then, he had asked Mysterious Yellow about many things and learned a lot of things, including the vanishing sacred metal, a kind of weapon-forging material born by heaven and earth. Although it couldn't be compared to the Hong Meng heavenly crystal, it was still very valuable, and even transcending heaven existences would be jealous of it. He didn't expect to see a piece of vanishing sacred metal here. It turned out that the crocodile ancestor was here to obtain this thing. Young man, not bad. You have good eyesight. The crocodile ancestor was surprised. He never thought that Lin Tian, who was only a god emperor, would know about the void-dissolving holy gold and recognize it at a glance. On the other hand, the Wishing Crocodile, the White Tiger, and the Little Taichu were at a loss. They didn't know much about the void-vanishing holy gold. Lin Tian saw that they were puzzled and gave a simple explanation. Even the omnipotent realm experts are jealous of him? It really is a super godly item. The White Tiger glared at him. At that moment, everyone's gazes involuntarily landed on the ethereal transformation sacred metal. Senior, is it very difficult to retrieve this thing? Lin Tian asked the crocodile ancestor. It seemed that the crocodile ancestor had discovered the void-turning holy gold here long ago, but it had not taken it out until now. Obviously, it was somewhat abnormal. Although the value of the void-turning holy gold was extraordinary, he even had the Hong Meng heavenly crystal, so he didn't care about this thing. Other than being a little surprised when he first saw it, he had calmed down by now. There are very complicated natural divine runes wrapped around it. It is very difficult to crack. I have been waiting here for a long time, the crocodile ancestor said. But now, it is considered the final stage. I will be able to retrieve it soon. Because of the Wishing Crocodile, although the crocodile ancestor's voice was indifferent, it did not hide anything. Lin Tianyi and the others stayed in the mine. The crocodile ancestor was in the middle. Strands of 5 elements treasure glory spread out from its body, penetrating into the large divine Lingjing in front of it, and surging towards the void-turning holy gold inside. The void-turning holy gold was naturally born from heaven and earth, and naturally, there were many natural divine runes wrapped around it. It was very responsible. The crocodile ancestor was using its powerful cultivation base, and its own majestic saint power to dissolve the divine runes outside the holy gold. From time to time, strange runes would appear outside the holy gold, and then they would shatter under the power of the crocodile ancestor. Lin Tian watched the crocodile ancestor from the side and felt the energy fluctuations outside its body. He couldn't help but be shocked. Vaguely, he felt a wisp of pressure that surpassed the void sky rank. Ascension realm? His heart skipped a beat. The old ancestor of the Wishing Crocodile had surpassed the void sky rank and was at the height of the Ascension realm. The Wishing Crocodile, the White Tiger, and the Little Taichu were watching from the side. They also felt the pressure that surpassed the void sky rank released by the crocodile ancestor at this time, and couldn't help but widen their eyes. Brother Crocodile, this old ancestor of yours is extraordinarily powerful. The White Tiger swallowed a mouthful of saliva. After the Wishing Crocodile recovered from its surprise, its eyes lit up. Not only did it see the crocodile ancestor of its bloodline, but it was also so powerful. It couldn't help but feel a little excited. Buzz! The 5 elements' holy radiance intertwined in front of the crocodile ancestor. 1 man and 3 beasts silently stood on one side, watching the divine patterns outside the holy metal. Just like that, more than a month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, a loud clanging sound came from the mine. The divine patterns outside the nullifying holy metal were completely dissolved, and a dazzling light intertwined. The nullifying holy metal seemed to have turned into a metal sun, and the light was cold and oppressive. Divine light flashed across the eyes of the crocodile ancestor. It shattered a large amount of divine patterns and grabbed the nullifying holy metal in its hand. Congratulations, Senior! Lin Tian stepped forward and said. At the same time, he felt his body turn cold. Being in close contact with the nullifying holy metal made his divine soul feel a little painful. He couldn't help but think that this nullifying holy metal was not simple. Congratulations, old ancestor! The whooshing crocodile stepped forward and congratulated Lin Tiandao. He stared at the holy metal in the crocodile ancestor's hand and said, Old ancestor, you see, caring for the younger generation is the responsibility and obligation of an ancestor. Why don't you give this holy metal to us as a greeting gift? Lin Tian. This guy was really shameless. The white tiger was also speechless. Even the little Taichu couldn't help but roll its eyes. The crocodile ancestor glanced at the whooshing crocodile, and put away the nullifying holy metal in its hand. You can't use it even if I give it to you. As it spoke, it continued, However, I have to give you and your companions some benefits. You can use the divine Lingjing here. These divine Lingjing were previously wrapped in the nullifying holy metal and intertwined with the divine patterns outside the nullifying holy metal, so they couldn't be moved. However, at this time, the divine patterns outside the nullifying holy metal had been completely obliterated. He had also obtained the nullifying holy metal, so he didn't have to care about these divine Lingjing anymore. As for these divine Lingjing, although there were so many of them that it was a little scary, and even holy king-level masters would be moved when they saw them, they were useless to existences like the crocodile ancestor. He might as well give them to Wishing Crocodile, Lin Tian, and the others as gifts. When the Wishing Crocodile heard this, its eyes immediately lit up. It's not as good as the nullifying holy metal, but it's barely okay. It rubbed its claws and said. Lin Tian was a little speechless. This guy was still pretending to be obedient after taking advantage of him. Thank you, Senior. He bowed to the crocodile ancestor and thanked it. The crocodile ancestor nodded and looked at Lin Tian. It said, Human, you are very polite. Very good. As it spoke, its gaze fell on the wishing crocodile again. Refine them with your companions, then come with me. You need to train them. Chapter 2005. The crocodile ancestor's intention was to personally train Wishing Crocodile in the future. Lin Tian and the others couldn't help but be moved. That ancestor, I'd better cultivate with Lin Brat and the others, okay? We won't bother you and take up your time. In exchange, you can just give us a random sky-reaching precious weapon. Wishing Crocodile rubbed its claws and said. Facing the ancestor of its lineage, it didn't have the initial uneasiness at all. Lin Tian was speechless when he heard this. He couldn't help but squint at this guy. He could totally guess what this guy was thinking at this time. He must think that he would be treated very harshly if he followed the crocodile ancestor to cultivate in the future. Just like when Ling Yun was brought by his master to cultivate, he refused to follow the crocodile ancestor at this time. He was completely afraid of suffering. Moreover, when this guy refused the crocodile ancestor's request because he was afraid of suffering in the future, he actually said something like, In exchange, I can just give you a heaven-ascending level treasure weapon. He was really shameless. The crocodile ancestor glanced at Wishing Crocodile and didn't say anything. However, it had a majestic expression that couldn't be disobeyed. Okay, I got it. Wishing Crocodile was stunned. It could see that the ancestor of its lineage wouldn't listen to it at all. The crocodile ancestor turned into a human form, wearing a black robe. It stood quietly by the side and signaled Lin Tian and the others to refine the god Lingjing. Lin Tianyi and the others didn't hesitate. They immediately operated their ancient scriptures in this mine, absorbing the god Lingjing in this mine to cultivate. For a time, all kinds of different lights lingered in the mine, illuminating it brightly. Buzz! Outside Lin Tian's body, a golden light surged, and his essence, qi, and spirit increased bit by bit. The crocodile ancestor stood by the side, glancing at Wishing Crocodile, Little Taichu, and White Tiger. Its gaze fell on Lin Tian, and in its deep eyes there was a strange light intertwined. The aura of the 9 people's techniques, is it that little brat? Watching Lin Tian cultivate, the crocodile ancestor felt the aura of the Sun Heart Sutra and other techniques on Lin Tian's body. It frowned for the first time, and then it couldn't help but shake its head. I don't feel a familiar aura. 4 different types of light revolved around the mine. Lin Tian cultivated seriously, and his essence, energy, and soul continued to rise. At the same time, the saint domain within his body grew as well, and the primitive aura of heaven and earth lingered within his body. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Ant's body's ancestors. His opened his eyes. 2 eyes fling. 2 eyes flashed as ancestor. His eyes S's Lin opens ancestor not. T's reach T. Baya he muttered to himself. There were too many god Lingjing in this place. Using these god Lingjing to cultivate, Shui Ying's cultivation had directly reached the peak of the middle stage God Emperor realm from the early stage God Emperor realm. He was just a strand away from reaching the peak stage God Emperor realm. Moreover, at the same time, he was also absorbing God Lingjing's energy to evolve his saint domain. At this time, his saint domain became even more astonishing. It was no longer just grass, but also some ordinary small trees that danced in the wind. The aura of life within the sacred domain was even thicker than before. With the improvement of his cultivation base and the growth of his saint domain, he could feel that his combat strength had improved by leaps and bounds. His divine power, divine soul, and physique had all undergone great changes. God Emperor Realm! An excited voice sounded from the side. Wishing Crocodile clenched his claws. In 3 months, he had reached the early stage God Emperor Realm from the peak stage God Emperor Realm. At the same time, Little Taichu and White Tiger had also reached the early stage God Emperor Realm. The aura they emitted was much stronger. Lin Tian stood up and bowed to the crocodile ancestor. Many thanks, Senior. These god Lingjing were given to them by the crocodile ancestor. Even though it was because Wishing Crocodile was its descendant, he still had to thank it. To them, this was a huge gift. The crocodile ancestor shook its head, indicating that Lin Tian did not need to be so polite. It then looked at Wishing Crocodile and directly grabbed him. The heaven realm is filled with dangers. Be careful. Pay attention to the celestial court, it said to Lin Tian now. Its words were simple, and then it disappeared in a flash. Lin Tian was immediately stunned. This existence really didn't hesitate in his actions. After a simple sentence, he directly grabbed the 5 elemental crocodile and left. They didn't even have time to say a simple goodbye to the 5 elemental crocodile. Oh, let's go too! He called out to the White Tiger and Little Taichu and left this place. The terrain in Myriad Death Valley was very complicated, and there were many earth veins, but it wasn't very dangerous. He had heard from the crocodile ancestor about the Void Heaven grade experts who had died in Myriad Death Valley when he followed the crocodile ancestor to the mine. Those experts were killed by the crocodile ancestor because they had discovered the void-dissolving sacred metal and wanted to compete with the crocodile ancestor. He brought the White Tiger and Little Taichu out of Myriad Death Valley very quickly. They crossed 3 magnificent celestial mountains in a row. Where are we going next? The White Tiger asked. Lin Tian thought for a while and said, Let's find a place with denser divine qi. Let's go, Hong. Suddenly, a tyrannical fluctuation of saint qi appeared in the distant sky, interrupting his words. A total of 10 figures stepped towards this place, each of them exuding an aura that could suppress saints. Found it. Take them down quickly. The 10 people were all in the quasi-saint realm. Their eyes fell on Lin Tianyi and the others. They were wearing the unique uniform of the Celestial Court. A few months ago, a group of cultivators from the Celestial Court were searching for Lin Tian in this area. They were killed by Lin Tian and disappeared. This attracted even more Celestial Court cultivators to this area. Many Celestial Court cultivators had been searching this area during this period, and now they found Lin Tian and the others. What a bunch of people looking for trouble. The White Tiger rolled his eyes. Although the 10 people were all in the quasi-saint realm, Lin Tian had a Saint King-grade precious weapon. With such a Saint King-grade precious weapon, even if his cultivation was only in the Emperor God realm, how could a quasi-saint resist him? Lin Tian looked at the 10 people pressing down on him. He paused for a moment and asked the White Tiger and Little Tai Chu to retreat while he went forward alone. Let's test our current battle strength. He muttered to himself. The weakest of the dozen or so people was at the first heaven of secondary saints, while the strongest was at the third heaven of secondary saints. At this moment, he directly circulated the reincarnation forging spirit art, stacking his battle prowess that was almost at the peak stage of the Godarch realm by 10 times, bursting forth with overflowing divine rainbow light. Dong! He swung the primal Chaos Empyrean fist with 10 times his current battle prowess and smashed an early-stage quasi-saint Heavenly Court cultivator who was charging at the forefront. After that, the Transformation God Talisman activated, and the sacred domain formed, enveloping the divine soul of this person. With a horrifying scream, the divine soul was directly crushed into pieces. How could this be? The other 10 quasi-saints from the Celestial Court had a change of expression. A middle-stage God Emperor actually killed one of them so easily. Not far away, the White Tiger could not help but shrink his neck. He felt a chill down his spine. He did not use that sacred King-grade seal, and with his middle-stage God Emperor cultivation, he actually killed a quasi-saint in the blink of an eye. This combat strength is truly. Chapter 2006. The voice that was filled with praise was very familiar. Lin Tian and the other 2 were all moved. They all looked in the direction of the voice. There, 2 middle-aged men stood together. One was dressed in purple, the other in black. Royal Lord of Celestial Spirit, Ao Jian Tianzuin. Lin Tianyi was shocked. He did not expect that these 2 ancient experts would appear here at this time. The White Tiger also widened its eyes. It recognized the 2 people in front of it, and revealed a shocked expression. Yeah! Little Tai Chu revealed a joyful expression. It flew over and landed on the shoulder of the Royal Lord of Celestial Spirit. It was extremely happy. This was its father. It had been more than 1,000 years since they parted. The Royal Lord of Celestial Spirit stroked the little guy's head very dotingly. Sinner! How dare you appear? One of the more than 10 quasi-saint experts from the Celestial Court who had killed their way here spoke. At this time, all of their gazes fell on Ao Jian Tianzuin. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. However, at this time, although these people's eyes were filled with murderous intent, none of them rushed toward Ao Jian Tianzuin. Instead, they were very wary. Quickly report to the Saint Kings! One of them spoke. Immediately, someone used a strange technique to convey the situation here to the higher-ups. This was because they knew very well that with their strength, they were no match for this person in front of them. If they went forward, they would only die. Clang! The sound of a sword rang out without warning. Behind Ao Jian Tianzuin, more than 10 sword rays silently appeared. In an instant, they directly chopped the dozen people into pieces. Their souls were also annihilated. Lin Tian was shocked. As Ao Jian Tianzuin attacked, he felt the other's aura. It carried the pressure of a Saint King. He's already in the Saint King realm. He was a little shocked. Ao Jian Tianzuin had reached the Saint King realm. He could believe that Celestial Venerable Zhonglong and the others must have reached the same level. This really made his heart palpitate. After all, when he had ascended to the celestial void realm, he had heard that Aojian Tianzuan and the others were only at the level of a quasi-saint a few years ago. Unexpectedly, in just a few years, they had already reached the level of a saint king. One had to know that there were a total of 9 small steps between the quasi-saint realm and the holy venerate realm. The higher one went, the more difficult it was to cultivate. To go from quasi-saint realm to holy king realm in just a few years, this cultivation speed was too fast. No matter what kind of fortuitous encounters the 9 of them had, or if it was purely because of their cultivation talent, this was enough to shock everyone. Then, he looked at the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe beside Aojian Tianzuan, and could not help but be moved. From the looks of it, the Overlord of Immortal Spirits seemed to be at the level of a Saint King. These 2 people, one was the disciple of a human king, and the other had the peerless bloodline of the Immortal Spirit Imperial family. They were at the height of Saint Kings, so how terrifying would their battle prowess be? Come to think of it, ordinary Saint Kings would not even be able to block a single blow from them. Young man, don't be so surprised. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe smiled faintly and looked over. His gaze fell on Lin Tian. You are definitely not one bit weaker than us. In fact, you are even stronger than us, he said. When we were at your age and cultivation level, we were far from being as strong as you are now. Lin Tian was moved, not because of the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe's praise for him, but because the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe could actually see through his thoughts at a glance. It was as if he could see through everything. Then, he came back to his senses and said humbly, Senior, you are too kind. He stepped forward and bowed to the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe and Aojian Tianzuan. Then, he asked, Seniors, why are you 2 here? The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe smiled faintly and said, Because of Aojian and the others, the Celestial Court is hunting you down. Naturally, we also know about this. We are certain that you have come to the Heaven Realm, so we are also looking for you. We are going to bring you to a place. Lin Tian was slightly moved when he learned that he was being hunted down by the Celestial Court. These days, the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe and Aojian Tianzuan were actually looking for him. Then, he asked again, Where are we going? A special place. Let's talk as we walk. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe said. Lin Tian nodded and immediately left the place. Together with the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe and Aojian Tianzuan, they headed southeast. Soon, dozens of celestial mountains were left behind. He also knew where the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe and Aojian Tianzuan were taking them. It was behind the stone door that required the stone key that Aojian Tianzuan and the others had snatched from the Celestial Court to open. What is in there? He could not help but ask. The White Tiger and Little Taichu also looked at the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe and Aojian Tianzuan. Naturally, they were very curious about this. It is a special space-time, like a crack between worlds. The flow of time there is different from the outside world, the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe said. The difference is that 1,000 years in that space-time is only about a day in the outside world. What? Hearing this, Lin Tian's expression changed immediately. Behind the stone door was a space of stone. 1,000 years and there was only about a day in the outside world? In that case, 1,000 years of cultivation and there was only about a day in the outside world? This was simply an extremely heaven-defying holy land for cultivation. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe smiled faintly, as if he had seen through Lin Tian's thoughts. He said, That is a sacred place for cultivation. The reason we are looking for you is to bring you in to cultivate. Hearing this, Lin Tian was pleasantly surprised. Back then, because of the crack between worlds, he had lost 1,000 years of cultivation. Now, he could finally make up for it. How did that space-time come about? He was very curious about this. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe smiled and looked at Aojian Tianzuan. It was a place where Master was enlightened, Aojian Tianzuan said. He was a man of few words by nature. Lin Tian's expression changed again. Although Aojian Tianzuan's words were very concise and vague, he still heard something. That space-time was related to the human king. Beside him, the white tiger, was also shocked. Even little Taichu, who was on the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe's shoulder, could not help but widen his eyes. After all, it was hard not to be moved by a place related to the human king. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe smiled faintly. Because Ao Jiantianzuan did not explain in detail, he added, "Back then, the human king had secluded himself there to enlighten himself. After he finished his enlightenment, time and space became extremely chaotic and full of destructive power. At that time, the human king had wanted to destroy that place directly. However, later on, he felt that after a certain period of time, the destructive power would disappear. Time and space would be greatly different from the outside world, and this difference would be positive. It would turn that place into a holy land for cultivation. Therefore, he did not destroy that place at that time. He only sealed it with a stone door to isolate the destructive power that existed in that place at that time. At the same time, he left a stone key to open the stone door for future use. However, later on, due to some special reasons, the stone key was lost. The change in time in the space behind the stone door was completed almost 1,000 years ago. Outside the stone door, one could feel a trace of the uniqueness of the flow of time. It was very different from the outside world, and was discovered by some experts of the Celestial Court. The experts of the Celestial Court who discovered that place were pleasantly surprised and wanted to open it. However, the seal was set by the human king. How could it be so easy to open it? Therefore, after the experts of the Celestial Court discovered the stone door, they had been searching for the key to open it all these years. Finally, it was found by a branch of the Celestial Court in this generation. Chapter 2007. Lin Tian listened to the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Divine Emperor talk about the stone door in detail, and he completely understood. Then, he was even more shocked. Just because the human king was meditating in seclusion there, that place naturally became a special space. The flow of time became different from the outside world. 1,000 years passed inside, but only a day passed in the outside world. How terrifying was that? "Senior, are there other realms after the Heaven Ascension realm?" he asked the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Divine Emperor. Just because he was meditating in seclusion, the space there changed so much that even the flow of time was affected. He didn't know what level of cultivation was required to do this, but from the many things he had learned about the dark yellow world, he could sense that a Heaven Ascension realm expert was definitely not capable of this. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Divine Emperor obviously knew what Lin Tian was thinking. In the history of cultivation, there are no other levels of cultivation after the Heaven Ascension realm. However, there is no doubt that the Heaven Ascension realm is definitely not the end of the path of cultivation, because cultivation is going against heaven and earth. There is no end to the path of cultivation, so naturally, there is no end to cultivation. Lin Tian's eyes flickered when he heard this. There is no end to the path of cultivation? He thought about it seriously, and couldn't help but feel that it seemed to make sense. Just as the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Divine Emperor said, cultivation is going against heaven and earth. There is no end to the path of cultivation. Then, a strange feeling suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart. It made him feel that he had heard these words somewhere before. Strange. He muttered to himself, and for a moment, he was a little confused. There is no end to the path of cultivation. He was sure that no one had ever said these words to him before. But why did he feel that it was very familiar? The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Divine Emperor looked at him. What's wrong? Ao Jiantianzuan, the white tiger, and the little Taichu also saw his strange expression and couldn't help but look at him. Looking at the group of people's eyes, Lin Tian immediately came back to his senses and hurriedly shook his head. Nothing. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Divine Emperor looked at him suspiciously, but didn't ask. Anyway, don't think too much. Let's hurry. Lin Tian nodded. At that moment, he, the white tiger, and little Taichu followed the Celestial Spirit Emperor Pearl and Ao Jiantianzuan in a fixed direction. In the blink of an eye, several months passed. A few months later, they followed the overlord of the fairy spirit tribe and celestial master Aogien to an ordinary mountain range. There was a clear gorge in the mountain range, and he saw the other 9 people here. Feng Xingtianzuin, Celestial Venerable Primal Chaos, Celestial Venerable Solar, Celestial Venerable Tain, Master Medicine, Celestial Venerable Array Emperor, Celestial Venerable Zonglong, Celestial Venerable Daran, and the descendant of the ancient gods, nameless. Young man, we are destined to meet. Feng Xingtianzuin looked at Lin Tian and smiled. Lin Tian had mastered all 9 of their techniques and had cultivated them. This was indeed an indescribable fate. Lin Tian was very humble. He bowed seriously and said, I have cultivated your ancient divine techniques without your permission and taught them to others. Please forgive me. Empyrean Divine Seal waved his hand. His essence, energy, and divine were much stronger than Empyrean Proud Sword and Sovereign Fairy Spirit Sovereigns. His tone was gentle as he said, There is no need to mind. This is the beginning of our destiny. Thank you, Senior. Lin Tian bowed again. To be honest, he was a little emotional. Feng Xingtianzuin, Celestial Venerable Primal Case, Celestial Venerable Solar, Celestial Venerable Tain, Master Medicine, Celestial Venerable Array Emperor, Celestial Venerable Dragon, Celestial Venerable Daoran, Aogien Tianzuin. These 9 famous ancient figures, the 9 disciples of the human king, the Emperor of Immortal Spirit, and Nameless, were all standing together with this group of people. All right, Fengshen, it's about time. Let's go to the stone door. The Emperor of Immortal Spirit said. Feng Xingtianzuin and the others naturally had names. However, they usually referred to each other by their Taoist names. Fengshen was Feng Xingtianzuin's Taoist name. Feng Xingtianzuin nodded. Let's go. On this day, Lin Tian, the White Tiger, and the Little Taichu followed Feng Xingtianzuin and the others out of this ordinary mountain range. Not long after, they came to another place. As far as the eye could see, there was a celestial mountain in front of them. The divine qi was extremely dense. Many of the ancient trees in the celestial mountain were wrapped in strands of strange divine light. When they came here, Feng Xingtianzuin, Aogien Tianzuin, and the others looked ahead. Traces of light appeared in their eyes. Lin Tian stood to the side. He naturally saw the light in the eyes of the 9 people. He instantly understood a lot. It seemed that the space-time dimension was in this mountain range. At the same time, he also saw that the emotions of the 9 people were a little strange at this time. He understood. After all, their master had cultivated here before. Humph! Suddenly, a cold snort sounded. In front of them, in the ancient Yi divine range, a group of figures suddenly appeared. In the blink of an eye, they stepped into the sky. Among the group of figures, there were 3 people in the lead. The aura of their bodies was extremely terrifying. They were surrounded by the aura of a sovereign. And behind the 3 of them, there were at least hundreds of people. All of them were extremely strong, and all of them were surrounded by the aura of a saint king. Such a scene made Lin Tian's expression change. Without a doubt, he guessed that these were definitely people from the celestial court. Among them, there were 3 sovereigns and hundreds of saint kings. This kind of lineup was a little scary. The White Tiger's expression also changed. He couldn't help but tremble. This. Little Taichu lay on the shoulder of the Emperor of Immortal Spirit, and couldn't help but shrink his neck. Juniors, you're finally willing to come? A cold voice sounded. Among the hundreds of figures, one of the 3 sovereigns in the lead spoke. After the celestial court discovered the stone door here, there had been people guarding it. After Feng Xingtianzuin and the others took the stone key, the guards here had been strengthened. In the past, there were only a few saint kings guarding here. Now, there were 3 more sovereigns and hundreds of other saint kings. This was because they knew that Feng Xingtianzuin and the others would definitely come here after taking the stone key. Feng Xingtianzuin and the others were now in the saint king realm. The cultivation gap between them and the sovereigns was too huge. In terms of combat power, they were far from being a match for them. However, at this time, facing 3 sovereigns and hundreds of saint kings of the same level, their expressions didn't change at all. You predicted that we would come here and waited here. But do you really think you can deal with us? Feng Tianzuan said calmly. This calm attitude made the three sovereigns of the celestial court freeze, and their eyes became colder. Chapter 2008. The sky above and the ground below were covered by endless divine runes. The three sovereigns and hundreds of saint kings of the celestial court stood guard. With the three sovereigns in the lead, they all looked coldly at Feng Tianzuan and the others, as if they were already looking at prisoners. You have no room to resist. Today, you will only be suppressed, one of the sovereigns said. One of the sovereigns said as he sealed off the area. No one below the sky-reaching realm could go against him. As his words fell, the endless divine runes of the law-suppressing cage trembled slightly, emitting rays of light that froze everything. This scene shocked Lin Tian. He had cultivated the Formation Emperor's Tianyi soul mantra, so he could naturally sense the terrifying power of the law-suppressing cage. It was as if it could suppress heaven and earth. The 9 disciples of the human king, the descendants of the celestial spirit royal family, and the descendants of the ancient gods. If we suppress you all together, the Divine Master will be extremely happy. Another Dominator rank expert spoke. Ordinary Saint King cultivators simply couldn't enter their eyes, much less the eyes of the Heavenly Court's Heavenly Master. But Empyrean Divine Seal and the others were absolutely not ordinary Saint Kings. Each one of them had a heaven-shaking origin. Suppressing a group of Saint Kings like this was extremely valuable and meaningful. Suppress, the sovereign said again. As his words fell, the law-suppressing cage's light shot up into the sky and directly pressed down on Feng Tianzuan and the others. Its aura was turbulent and surging. Facing this turbulent pressure, Lin Tian could not help but tremble. He only felt that his entire body had become cold. Then, he tilted his head and looked at Feng Tianzuan and the others. Feng Tianzuan and the others were not ordinary people. He believed that before they came, they must have expected that there would be people from the celestial court guarding here. This way, they would definitely have a way to deal with it. In fact, his guess was very accurate. You think too much, Feng Tianzuan said calmly. Beside him, the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor smiled faintly, and did not say anything. In the next moment, strands of 6-colored divine light intertwined. Behind him, a soul's shadow appeared. In the blink of an eye, it grew to a height of 300 meters. It was intertwined with the same 6-colored divine radiance, but it was unknown how much stronger it was. Its divine might was vast and mighty, and it caused the world in all directions to tremble. The sky directly collapsed. Chi! 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 A series of crisp sounds rang out. In the blink of an eye, the law-suppressing cage was shattered by the aura emitted by the soul's shadow. This is... Lin Tian stood off to the side and looked at the soul's shadow that had suddenly emerged from the Immortal Spirit Emperor's main body, and he couldn't help but shudder. The aura emitted by this soul shadow was too terrifying. It was shocking to the extreme, as if it could easily devour the world. Yeah. Little Taichu glared at the soul shadow behind the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor. The soul shadow's aura was exactly the same as the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor's. Its origin was resonating with it. The 3 sovereigns of the celestial court and hundreds of saint kings changed their expressions. The coldness they had just now disappeared in an instant, and they were all replaced by fear. That old demon you. The sovereign of the celestial court, who had been indifferently saying that Feng Tianzuan and the others were no match for him, could not help but tremble at this moment. It's very rude to call someone else's ancestor an old demon, the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor said lightly. As he finished speaking, the soul shadow behind him opened its eyes. They were like 2 eternal black holes, extremely terrifying to the extreme. With a whoosh, the sovereign of the celestial court who had spoken was instantly disintegrated. Not a drop of blood flowed out, and it was directly weathered into sand. Lin Tian's heart skipped a beat. A sovereign was destroyed just like that. At the same time, he was also shocked by the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor's words. He stared unblinkingly at the soul's shadow. This is the ancestor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family? Previously, when he was in Dathan Holy Land, he had heard from a wisp of Tao Master Kong Ming's soul that the Immortal Spirit Emperor family had an extremely terrifying old demon. He did not expect to see it today. Although it was only a soul shadow, its aura was terrifying. It was as if there was nothing it could not do. The ancestor of the little guy's bloodline? The white tiger's eyes also widened, its face full of shock. Within the celestial mountain range, the other two sovereigns of the celestial court and hundreds of saint kings were all terrified. Then, without saying a word, they all fled into the distance. They had set up a law-suppressing cage here. Anyone below the level of Immortal Spirit Emperor family would be suppressed. They were already prepared to suppress Fengshen Tianzuan and the others, but they did not expect that the ancestor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family would appear here. That person was known as the Old Demon by the Celestial Court before the primordial antiquity. Even the Immortal Spirit Emperors of the Celestial Court were wary of him. Although it was only a soul shadow that had appeared here, it was not something they could withstand. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor's expression was calm. He did not say anything. Behind them, the soul shadow's eyes were extremely deep and weathered. A glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. In an instant, the fleeing elites of the Celestial Court trembled. Then, like the sovereigns before them, they shattered one after another. Even the other two sovereigns who had already stepped into the space tunnel were no exception. As the soul shadow's eyes moved, the space collapsed. Their bodies fell out and were directly shattered. Everyone's body and soul were destroyed in an instant. Seeing this scene, Lin Tian could not help but feel his scalp go numb. Such a group of elites had actually been wiped out in an instant. This is really... The white tiger swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Yeah. Little Taichu stood on the shoulder of the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family. Looking at the soul shadow behind the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family, he blinked his big eyes and looked like he was greeting him. The soul shadow was at least 100 feet tall. His eyes were deep and weathered, as if he had truly seen through everything. His gaze moved and fell on the little fellow. After pausing for a moment, a ray of 6-colored divine light shot out and entered the little fellow's forehead. Then, in the next moment, the soul's shadow became faint and then slowly disappeared. Yeah! Why is it gone? The little fellow's eyes widened. Although its temperament had always been like a child, it had just understood that the soul shadow was the ancestor of its lineage. It had wanted to talk to the ancestor, but the ancestor had disappeared in an instant. The Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family rubbed the little fellow's head and said with a smile, "The ancestor is in seclusion in the long river of time. The amount of soul power he can separate is very limited. He won't be able to last for long. In addition, he seems to have given you some special power just now, so he disappeared. Don't worry, you will see him again in the future." Beside them, Lin Tian listened to the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family's explanation to the little fellow. His heart could not help but twitch. The long river of time was very dangerous. Stepping into it, one's body and soul would be destroyed if one was not careful. However, the ancestor of the Immortal Spirit Emperor family was in seclusion in the long river of time? Chapter 2009. Cultivating in seclusion in the river of time really made Lin Tian's heart palpitate. How terrifying! The white tiger trembled and couldn't help but swallow its saliva. Fengshen Tianzuan and the others were very calm. Obviously, they knew about this. They went to find the ancestor of the Immortal Spirit Imperial family who was in seclusion, and used a wisp of her divine soul to help. They entered the river of time together. "Let's go," Fengshen Tianzuan said. Immediately, Lin Tian followed Fengshen Tianzuan and the others and stepped into the group of immortal mountains in front of them. The immortal mountains were connected, and the ancient trees were very healthy. Not long after, the group arrived at the center of the immortal mountains. There was a small valley in the center of the immortal mountains. Feng Tianzun came here because he had heard about what happened back then from the human king. He was very familiar with this place. Soon, they entered the depths of the small valley and came in front of a stone door. The stone door didn't have complicated divine patterns or ancient seals. It only had a groove in the shape of a key. Lin Tian came here and looked at the stone door in front of him. The first thing he felt was an extremely shocking time fluctuation lingering around the stone door. Moreover, there was an extremely obvious difference between the flow of time here and the outside world. He felt that behind the stone door, there seemed to be an independent river of time sealed. Behind that is the space-time space formed because the human king comprehended the Tao here. A bright light appeared in his eyes. The human king was a true invincible legend. Now, he had come to the place where that existence had comprehended the Tao. Feng Tianzun stood at the front. His right hand flashed, and a simple stone key appeared. It was intertwined with an abundant ancient intent. He placed it into the groove on the stone door. Immediately, the stone door trembled and slowly opened. Light overflowed, as if a new world had been opened. The flow of time was different from the outside world. It became even more obvious. Even a true immortal cultivator could feel it. Let's go. Feng Tianzun took out the stone key from the stone door and called Lin Tian and the others to enter the stone door. Lin Tian followed Feng Tianzun and the others through the stone door. Immediately, the stone door closed with a creak. Standing behind the stone gate, he gazed into the boundless space before him. It wasn't too small, but it wasn't too large either. There were many ancient trees within, and they were shockingly thick. It was not something the outside world could compare to at all. It truly reached into the clouds. Moreover, the divine energy fluctuations in this space were incomparably rich, and it was also incomparable to the outside world. The difference was several dozen times. After about 10 days in the outside world, this space will collapse. Start cultivating immediately, Feng Tianzun said. As soon as he said this, Lin Tian was immediately moved. White Tiger and Little Taichu were no exception. This space will collapse? He was a little surprised. Feng Tianzun nodded. He was the strongest person in this place. He was very gentle and said with a smile, "The flow of time in this space is similar to the world crevice. It is different from the outside world, but it is not as stable as the world crevice. The things that have always existed in this space, such as water, stone, and wood, will not affect it. However, if other things suddenly intervene, it will quickly break the balance and cause it to self-destruct. This is what Master told us when he first mentioned this space." Lin Tian immediately understood when he heard this. Their intervention at this time was the foreign things that would break the balance of this space. When the Lord of the Celestial Court first discovered this space, he only estimated the difference between the flow of time in this space and the outside world. He didn't know who created this space, nor did he know that this space would only last for about 10 days after it opens. Otherwise, he wouldn't have cared so much about this space. The royal lord of the Celestial Spirit Emperor smiled faintly. In this space, 1,000 years passed in this space. 1 day passed in the outside world, and 10 days passed in the outside world. This space would collapse. In other words, this space could give the practitioners an extra 10,000 years of cultivation time. 10,000 years of cultivation time was a very large number. However, for the lords of the Celestial Court, it was really nothing. After all, those who were crowned with the title of Lord of the Celestial Court in the Celestial Court were all at the ascending heaven level. For those at the ascending heaven level, an extra 10,000 years of time was meaningless, and would not be tempting. However, these 10,000 years were undoubtedly very important to Feng Tianzun and the others who were now at the Saint King level. With the density of the divine aura in this space and their aptitude, an extra 10,000 years of time could change many things. In this space, the celestial mountains were next to each other. They were all very majestic. Because this space could not be maintained indefinitely, although they could have 10,000 years of time, the group also cherished it very much. They each found a celestial mountain and directly began to cultivate. For a time, more than 10 different kinds of luster gushed out in this space. It was glossy and shiny. Lin Tian began to circulate the Sun Heart Sutra. This was the ancient sutra that he had chosen to cultivate the most suitable for himself. With the circulation of this ancient sutra, golden divine light immediately intertwined outside his body and surrounded him. The divine aura from all directions surged toward him. It was very thick and made him feel as if he was in the sea of Ling Jing. Every pore on his body could not help but relax at this time. He was not surprised because when he first entered this space, he felt that the divine aura in this space was very thick. At this time, he was naturally very calm in such a state. He circulated the Sun Heart Sutra and adjusted his essence, energy, and spirit to the peak state. Then, he propped up the Saint Realm. The evolution and growth of the Saint Realm required very thick divine aura. The environment in this space was very suitable for it. For this Saint Realm, people who did not know the reason would only think that it was a small world that a cultivator had evolved with his own divine power. It was very difficult to see that it was a real big world that was opened up by a world seed. He had never tried to hide it. Moreover, for Fengxian Tianzuan and the others in front of him, he did not need to hide at all. They were the disciples of the human king, the descendants of the ancient god clan, and the descendants of the immortal spirit royal family. In front of these people, there was no need to hide at all. Buzz! As soon as the Saint Realm appeared, the most primitive aura of heaven and earth immediately emerged and intertwined in this space. Outside this space, in the center of the Void Realm, in the center of the Heaven Realm, there were magnificent divine palaces connected to each other. No one knew how long they had existed. The aura of time was extremely thick. They're all dead? Among the group of divine palaces, in one of the divine palaces, a pair of cold eyes opened. They were extremely deep. Just now, someone came to report that the experts of the celestial court guarding the stone door were all dead. Those people of the younger generation entered it? In the divine palace, another pair of eyes opened. It was as if they had seen the universe. They were also very indifferent. At the same time, they intertwined with a very obvious coldness. There was a murderous light in them. That space is very special. We can't let them continue to live there, even if we have to destroy it. A third pair of eyes opened. The voice was cold. In this space. Buzz! Outside Lin Tian's body, his essence, energy, and spirit strengthened bit by bit. His Saint Realm also changed. The plants inside were growing rapidly. Just like that, time passed. In the blink of an eye, he had passed 500 years in this space. Chapter 2010. To step from the Divine Emperor Realm to the Quasi-Saint Realm, one needed to convert all the divine power in one's body into saint power. This was a very complicated process. Just as Xian Huang had said, it was very difficult to carry out. In the lower realms, people such as Tai Shang had been trapped at the end of the Divine Emperor Realm for many years before breaking through. But now, in this place of the Void Realm, which was once the place of enlightenment for human kings, the divine chi inside was very shocking. Therefore, in just a few hundred years, Lin Tian had reached the end of the Divine Emperor Realm from the Middle Divine Emperor Realm. Then, he completely converted all the divine power in his body into life force and rushed into the Quasi-Saint Realm. At this time, he looked into his body. The saint power was flowing in his body. Although it was still golden, its quality was obviously different from the divine power. He could clearly feel that this saint power was much stronger than the divine power. At the same time, he observed his divine soul, sea of consciousness, and physique. All of them had undergone a huge qualitative change. The soul energy of his divine soul was pure and vigorous. His sea of consciousness was vast and boundless. His physique was even more indestructible. It was as if he could shatter everything with a punch. Good! His eyes were intertwined with a bright light. He couldn't help but say to himself. Now, he could feel his strength. Although he had just stepped into the Quasi-Saint Realm and was at the first level of the Quasi-Saint Realm, his combat strength was absolutely tyrannical. His combat strength alone was enough to fight anyone below the 7th level of the quasi-saint realm. And when he used the reincarnation forging spirit technique, ordinary cultivators below the saint realm were absolutely no match for him. He took a deep breath and looked at Fengxing Tianzuan and the others who were cultivating nearby. Then, he continued to cultivate. However, in the next moment, he suddenly changed his expression. "Where's the heavenly tribulation?" He was slightly surprised. With his reincarnation constitution, after stepping into the airborne realm, every time he stepped into a major realm, it would trigger a destructive heavenly tribulation. But now, when he stepped into the quasi-saint realm from the divine emperor realm, there was no heavenly tribulation. After becoming a saint, there is no heavenly tribulation? He frowned and then looked at this space-time. Or is it because this space-time is isolated from the outside world, and the heavenly tribulation can't be suppressed temporarily? He thought seriously and thought for a quarter of an hour. Unfortunately, it was difficult to come to an accurate conclusion. After that, he couldn't be bothered to think about it. After all, he couldn't figure it out even if he thought about it. Continuing to think about it was undoubtedly a waste of time. He exhaled a mouthful of foul air, closed his eyes, and immersed himself in cultivation once more. Buzz! He activated the Heart Sutra of the sun outside his body, saint power interweaved, and saint might circled around him. After stepping into the quasi-saint realm, there was only one key to cultivation, and that was to refine the saint power in the body. This was similar to how a cultivator from the airborne realm began to refine their divine powers after stepping into the connecting immortal realm. However, the difference in difficulty was like heaven and earth. The refinement of holy powers was tens of thousands of times more difficult than converting divine powers into holy powers. Every step was very difficult. After Lin Tian stepped into the quasi-saint level, he began to refine his saint energy. Very soon, he sensed how difficult it was to cultivate at this level. It was as difficult as picking up a silver needle from the boundless ocean. It was both mentally and physically taxing. However, his will was very firm. Although he discovered that refining his saint energy was very difficult, he didn't care. His expression was as usual. The Heart Sutra of the sun operated even faster, stripping away the impurities in his saint energy bit by bit. At the same time, the evolution of the sacred domain was also proceeding at the same time. The life aura inside became denser, and there were even miniature mountains appearing in some places. There were even some green trees that swayed with the gentle breeze. Just like that, in the blink of an eye, he was living in this space-time. According to the flow of time in this space-time, another 2,000 years had passed. In these 2,000 years, Lin Tian cultivated seriously while living in this space-time. The saint power in his body was much purer, and the saint might outside his body was denser. His essence, qi, and spirit were more vigorous. His cultivation base went from the first level of the quasi-saint realm to the 6th level of the quasi-saint realm. It's so difficult! On this day, 2,000 years later, he opened his eyes and couldn't help but sigh with emotion. After reaching the quasi-saint realm, it was far too difficult to rely on one's own body to temper one's saint strength without relying on special heavenly materials. For Empyrean Divine Seal and the others to reach the Saint King realm from the quasi-saint realm in just several years, they must have had some sort of special lucky chance. He didn't think that his aptitude was very good, but it definitely wasn't bad either. Not many people could compare to him. However, it took him 2,000 years to reach the 6th level of the quasi-saint realm from the early stage of the quasi-saint realm. Even if he was distracted during this process, cultivating his body and evolving the sacred domain at the same time, it was enough to show how difficult it was to cultivate after the quasi-saint realm. This made him feel that even with Wu Yi's heaven-defying aptitude, it would be difficult to reach the Saint King realm from the early stage of the quasi-saint realm in just a few years with normal cultivation. Although Fengxing Tianzuan and the others were very powerful, in terms of aptitude, they were definitely far from being comparable to Wu Yi. It was absolutely impossible to reach the Saint King realm from the early stage of the quasi-saint realm in just a few years with normal cultivation. There must be some special encounters that allowed them to reach the Saint-King realm from the early stage of the quasi-saint realm in just a few years. Based on this level of difficulty, how much time would it take to reach the Heaven Ascension realm with normal cultivation? He couldn't help but sigh. Then, very quickly, he gradually calmed down again. This was because it was meaningless to think about such a problem at this time. He took a deep breath, and the heart of the Sun Sutra circulated steadily, and continued to refine his saint power. Kaboom! At this moment, the space suddenly trembled as if there was an earthquake, shaking violently. This shocked him, and just as he was about to continue cultivating, he was forced to stop because of the shaking. At the same time, Feng Xingtianzuan and the others, who were cultivating, naturally felt it and opened their eyes one after another. Some people can't sit still anymore, and have started to attack outside the stone door. They probably want to destroy this space directly. The royal lord of the immortal spirit royal family smiled faintly. Lin Tian heard this and was immediately moved. Senior, do you mean that this shaking is from the people of the celestial court attacking the stone door and this space from outside? He asked. The royal overlord of the celestial spirit kingdom nodded. More or less. He smiled. However, we don't have to worry about them. The seal around this space was left behind by that existence. Even if all the Heaven Ascension celestial lords of the celestial court were here, they wouldn't be able to break the seal at all. They wouldn't be able to destroy this space through the seal. At most, they would cause this space to shake a little, and it wouldn't affect us at all. Chapter 2011. Lin Tian had naturally thought of the problem raised by the white tiger. When he heard the white tiger voice such doubts, he looked at the Emperor of Immortal Spirit, Feng Xingtianzuan, and the others. The Emperor of Immortal Spirit had only given him a strand of his spirit, and he could no longer rely on that method. Moreover, even if that strand of spirit was still there, it would probably be difficult to deal with the future situation. After all, those outside the stone door seemed to be the celestial master-level cultivators of the celestial court. They were all Ascension Realm cultivators, and those were not existences that could be dealt with by just a strand of spirit from the Emperor of Immortal Spirit. However, he was not worried at all. He believed that the Emperor of Immortal Spirit and the others must have other methods to deal with the future situation. After all, these people were not ordinary people. The outside world has made preparations. In the last year of the space-time space, we have made some preparations inside to deal with the problems at that time. Don't worry, the Emperor of Array said. A light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes, and he thought to himself. Just as I thought. These people had indeed made all kinds of preparations. Continue to cultivate. This space-time space can still last for about 7,000 years. Although it's a lot of time, it's best not to waste it. Feng Xingtianzuan smiled faintly. On this day, Lin Tian stayed in this space-time space and continued to cultivate. The Heart Sutra of Sun was activated. Outside his body, strands of golden divine light intertwined, and his essence, qi, and spirit increased bit by bit. Saint power lingered in his body, and he seriously refined it, making the saint power in his body more and more crystal clear and pure. At the same time, he was also dividing his attention to evolve the sacred domain. As time passed, more mountains and plants appeared in the space-time space, and the aura of life became stronger, and the territory became wider. Boom! The space-time space shook as if there was a huge earthquake. This vibration was the same as the one just now. Lin Tian knew that there was a supreme cultivator from the celestial court outside the space-time space that was bombarding the stone door. In this regard, because he had already learned from the Emperor of Immortal Spirit and the others that the stone door in the space-time space was sturdy, he did not care and still closed his eyes to cultivate seriously. The refinement of the saint power and the evolution of the sacred domain were carried out together. Just like that, time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, nearly 10,000 years passed. Nearly 10,000 years had passed. On this day, Lin Tian made another breakthrough and temporarily stopped cultivating. Ninth Heaven Sage! he muttered to himself as a bright light flashed across his eyes. Since reaching the 6th tier of the second saint realm over 7,000 years ago, he had relied on himself to cultivate seriously while evolving his saint domain. On this day, he had reached the 9th heaven of the saint realm and was not far away from the saint king realm. At the same time, the sacred domain became even more vast. There were even more mountain ranges inside. The life aura was extremely shocking. "All right," he muttered to himself. After that, it thought of another problem. In the past 7,000 years, it had advanced from the quasi-saint stage to the saint stage, but there was still no heavenly tribulation in this space. The advancement process was very smooth. "Strange," he muttered to himself. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp sound was heard. At this time, in many places in this space, the void suddenly distorted, and time and space began to become chaotic. This chaos was very faint, but it was mixed with a very terrifying aura, which made Lin Tian's expression change immediately. At the same time, Fengshu Tianzuan, the Emperor of Immortal Spirit, and the others also sensed this change. At this time, they all opened their eyes and stopped cultivating. The time of 10,000 years is almost up. It's about to start collapsing. Fengshu Tianzuan stood up, and a bright light flashed across his eyes. Hearing this, Lin Tian's expression changed again. This space was about to collapse? However, he quickly calmed down again. After calculating, it had been 10,000 years since he first entered this space. This space was indeed about to collapse. "It's time to prepare," the Emperor of Immortal Spirit said. On the 9 immortal peaks next to them, Ao Jian Tianzuan, Wu Ming, and the others stood up one after another. The Array Emperor stepped into the sky, and his sacred power immediately appeared. The void in all directions trembled slightly, and endless array patterns surged out in an instant. As these array patterns appeared, Lin Tian was immediately startled. He could vaguely feel the Array Emperor's cultivation at this time. "The Dominator Realm!" He was shocked. At this time, Celestial Master Zonglong walked out from another position. Dragon patterns appeared all over the sky, imprinting into the void and imprinting into the ground. The aura he emitted was not weaker than the Array Emperor, and was also at the Dominator Realm. This made him shocked again. After that, he could not help but look at Fengshu Tianzuan, the Emperor of Immortal Spirit, and the others. They should all be dominators. His heart thumped. But soon, he calmed down again. In these 10,000 years, he was multitasking. Under the situation where he cultivated his body and created the sacred domain, he could reach the 9th heaven saint realm from the middle god emperor realm. Then, Fengshu Tianzuan and the others could cultivate from the sacred king realm to the sacred venerate realm, and then to the dominator realm. This was naturally not surprising. After all, none of the 11 people were simple. Each of them had a very shocking origin. Then, he looked at the little Taichu and the white tiger. The little guy was the same as him, reaching the 9th heaven saint realm. The white tiger was slightly weaker, but it had also reached the 3rd heaven saint realm. At this time, it was excitedly clenching its paws. 1. The formation runes were everywhere, and the dragon runes were intertwined in all directions. The Formation Emperor and Celestial Lord Zonglong were working at the same time, setting up formation runes and dragon runes in this space. The two intertwined with each other, building a special holy formation. This sacred array was very complicated. Lin Tian looked at it seriously, and then found that he could not understand this sacred array at all with his current 9th heaven saint realm cultivation. However, he still looked at it seriously. He felt that it would be of great help to his array Dao and dragon pattern Dao as he watched the two of them draw this sacred array. Time passed quickly. He carefully watched the Array Emperor and Celestial Master Zonglong draw the special sacred array. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. During this year, he carefully watched the two of them imprint the array patterns and dragon patterns. He had improved a lot on the path of Array Dao and dragon technique. It was also on this day that the Array Emperor and Celestial Master Zonglong stopped at the same time. A vast sacred array intertwined, and every place in the space was surrounded by sacred light. "It's done," Celestial Master Zonglong said. The sacred array covered the entire space. Lin Tian could not help but feel his heart palpitate. He only felt that this sacred array seemed to be able to swallow the sky. It was also at this time that cracking sounds were constantly heard. In this space, the void became even more distorted. At the same time, the stone door was shaking. It was as if someone was bombarding it from the outside. "It's time to welcome the guests," Feng Shengtianzuan said. He flicked his finger, and the stone key left by the human king turned into a ray of light and flew out, instantly disappearing into the stone door. With a creak, the stone door shook and then slowly opened. Light poured in from the outside. At the same time, there was a special flow of time that intertwined outside the stone door. It was the aura of the flow of time in the outside world. It was completely different from the flow of time in the space. Boom! The entire space suddenly shook, and the sky became as dark as ink in the blink of an eye. Bolts of thunder and lightning surged down. Chapter 2012. Three silhouettes suddenly appeared in time and space. They were like three real gods, and their auras were extremely terrifying. The Celestial Master of the Celestial Court, the Celestial Master. Lin Tian could not help but tremble. It was not because he was afraid at this time, but because the aura of the three was too terrifying. It was as if they could swallow the universe, causing his body to instinctively tremble at this moment, and the muscles all over his body were in severe pain. The white tiger and little Taichu were the same. Facing the majestic aura of the three, they could not help but tremble. The aura of the three was as deep as the sea. They stood there like three black holes, as if they were going to swallow everything in the world. "Your master and ancestors are not yet born, but you little things have been jumping up and down quite happily these years." A cold voice rang out in the sky. One of the three spoke, and his voice was like a divine bell that shook. Because of this voice, the void in time and space cracked inch by inch. "Do you have the right to make my master step in?" Feng Xingtianzuan looked at the person who spoke and was very calm. The Celestial Master of the Celestial Court, who spoke, suddenly had a cold look in his eyes, as if his tail had been stepped on. "Ants!" As the cold voice was heard, this person immediately made his move. The Celestial Master's saint power surged, forming a saint-level palm print that directly grabbed at Feng Xingtianzuan. At the same time, it also shrouded Celestial Lord Zonglong and the others. This was a Celestial Master's move, and for a moment, it made time and space tremble violently. In the blink of an eye, the palm print directly pressed down on the heads of Feng Xingtianzuan and the others. Lin Tian could not help but tremble. As the palm print pressed down, he felt as if a real piece of the sky was falling down. The white tiger and little Taichu were the same. Facing this Celestial Master's palm print, their spiritual souls could not help but tremble violently. It was also at this time that the Formation Emperor and Celestial Lord Zonglong made their moves at the same time, each forming a seal. Suddenly, the saint formation that the two of them spent a year to engrave in the time and space moved. The dragon patterns of the formation resonated with each other, and formed a shocking light wall, blocking the huge hand that was pressing down. This caused Lin Tian's expression to change. He was somewhat in disbelief. Although Celestial Venerable Zonglong and the Array Emperor were very strong, they were only at the Dominator realm now. No matter how powerful the Holy Array was, it was impossible for it to block the attack of a transcending heaven-level powerhouse. However, he soon discovered an abnormality. It wasn't just the power of the Saint formation that blocked the heaven-reaching level palm print. Instead, it was the Saint formation that had activated the chaotic time force and space force in this space, blocking the terrifying palm print. "Young man, work hard on your cultivation. In the future, we might be able to fight side by side." Feng Xingtianzuan looked at Lin Tian and smiled faintly. At the same time, the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe looked at Lin Tian. "Little guy, I'm counting on you." Then, his gaze fell on little Taichu. He smiled and said, "The next time we meet, it may be a long time. Father will miss you. Yeah? Little Taichu's eyes immediately widened. Lin Tian was also moved. Why did Feng Shuntianzuan and the Emperor of the Immortal Spirit Tribe suddenly speak like this at this time? He looked at the two of them. Seniors, you buzz! Suddenly, the holy light surged and directly interrupted him. It enveloped him, little Taichu, and White Tiger together. The Array Emperor formed a seal, and a space portal appeared behind them. In the blink of an eye, they were swallowed into it. Then, the space portal closed, and the three of them directly disappeared in the space. In the sky, the three heaven lords of the celestial court looked down at Feng Shuntianzuan and the others with indifferent eyes. They were not too moved by the Array Emperor sending away Lin Tian, little Taichu, and White Tiger. After all, a few saint-level cultivators were not even comparable to ants in their eyes. At this moment, they only cared about Feng Shuntianzuan and the others and this space-time. You are worthy of praise for being able to block my attack, but in the end, it won't change anything. The Heaven Lord who attacked before spoke again. An even stronger holy light surged and pressed down on Feng Shuntianzuan and the others. This space-time belongs to the Celestial Court. We will take it back now. As for you, we will not kill you for the time being. With your status, you will be of great use. Boom! This person attacked for the second time. The power was many times stronger than before. Heaven and earth trembled. You think too much. In the face of this terrifying attack, Feng Shuntianzuan was still very calm. The Array Emperor and Celestial Lord Zonglong attacked. Endless array patterns and dragon patterns combined to create a resplendent light wall that blocked the attack. At the same time, the space-time trembled violently. Time and space became incomparably chaotic. Many places collapsed inch by inch, and a terrifying aura of destruction interweaved. The Celestial Court Lord who attacked was immediately moved because his second attack had been blocked. More importantly, he discovered that this space-time was beginning to collapse and self-destruct. What did you do? Destroyed this space-time? This person's eyes became cold and murderous. At the same time, the other two Heaven Lords beside him were the same. They discovered this space-time and had great expectations for it. But they did not expect that this space-time would begin to collapse and collapse at this time. It was already impossible to protect it. Cracking sounds continued. The space-time collapse became even more severe. Large cracks appeared in the void. Chaotic time vortexes and space-time vortexes appeared in many places, intertwining with a terrifying aura of destruction that seemed to be able to devour everything. The Array Emperor and Celestial Lord Zonglong worked together to engrave the sacred array that bloomed with divine light, protecting Feng Shuntianzuan and the others. Let me take you to a wonderful place, Feng Shuntianzuan said calmly. Next to him, the Emperor of Fairy Spirit, Wu Ming, and the others were also very calm. The Array Emperor and Celestial Lord Zonglong attacked at the same time. They formed seals at a speed that was difficult to be seen with the naked eye, causing the sacred array to burst with a towering divine light that enveloped everything in this place. The dazzling divine light shrouded their group and the three Heaven Ascension Realm Lords of the Celestial Court. In the blink of an eye, they all disappeared from this place. The next moment, dazzling divine light bloomed in another place. The Array Emperor, Celestial Lord Zonglong, and the others appeared. The sacred array moved with them. At the same time, the three Heaven Lords of the Celestial Court were also brought along and appeared here. As far as the eye could see, this place was extremely dark. Gravel was everywhere, but they were all floating in the air. It was as if there was no gravity here. More importantly, there were corpses and remains everywhere. The turbulent death aura seemed to be able to annihilate everything. This place. The three Heaven Lords of the Celestial Court immediately changed. Are you crazy? How dare you come here? How many times have you slaughtered all living things? Do you still remember? Feng Shuntianzuan said calmly. This place is the last battlefield of great devastation. After countless years of evolution, it has become a synonym for death. It annihilates everything, and only death is allowed to exist. However, life and death have been interdependent since ancient times. If there is death, there will naturally be life. The life here is difficult to manifest, but death is not enough. If Heaven Ascension stage experts like you all die here, perhaps life can manifest. The 3 heaven lords of the celestial court were furious. How dare a few ants have such an idea? They could tell that Fengxing Tianzuan had brought them here to kill them here. After their deaths, the death aura here would continue to strengthen the death aura here, causing it to reach a peak. Then, it would trigger a special mutation, drawing out the invisible life force that existed in this land of death. He wanted to absorb that life force. Let's not talk about whether or not this land of death has that kind of life force. Do you think you can kill us with just you few ants? What a joke! The other 2 heaven lords spoke. Heaven Ascension stage Saint energies shook violently, surging violently. At the same time, they released their Heaven Ascension stage divine senses to search the surroundings, looking for a way out of this place. They knew how terrifying this place was. If they stayed here for too long, they would gradually be assimilated by the death aura here. In the end, their spirit and consciousness would melt, turning into a soulless empty shell. Even Heaven Ascension stage experts could not avoid this. We are only guessing that there is that kind of life force here, so we are taking a gamble. If we win, we will advance to a higher level. If we lose, we will die here. Fengxing Tianzuan said calmly. As for whether we can kill you, there is no need to doubt. Since we dared to bring you here, we naturally have the means to kill you. We will not disappoint you. As his words fell, a golden needle flew out from his sleeve, quickly piercing into his body. Then, it rushed out of his body, piercing into the bodies of the Emperor of Immortal Spirit, Celestial Venerable Zanlong, Nameless, and the others. Instantly, the group's aura skyrocketed, reaching a terrifying height in the blink of an eye. Death Return Needle? The 3 heavenly masters were shocked and furious. You! Fengxing Tianzuan closed his eyes, as if reminiscing. Burying everything in one's body, burning everything in one's body, connecting with the outside world's Tao and Qi, increasing one's endless combat power, all for less than 1/10,000th chance of survival. This needle carries Junior Brother's hatred, pain, and unyielding spirit. We will gamble with it. He opened his eyes again, no longer as calm as before. His eyes had become incomparably cold. Kill! Boom! Overflowing holy light surged, and the 11 moved at the same time. Under the corrosion of the endless death aura, they charged toward the 3 heavenly masters. Void Celestial Realm, in an unknown place, there were many green mountains, but they were not majestic and tall. Comparatively, they were more ordinary. Ka! At this moment, the void here suddenly split open, and the figures of Lin Tian, the white tiger, and the little Taichu fell out. After falling out of the void, the man and the 2 beasts stepped on the solid ground again. Lin Tian glanced around and immediately found the existence of array patterns nearby. Was it carved by the Array Emperor? When he said that the outside world was ready, was this it? Did they plan from the very beginning to teleport us directly from that space to here? He was moved. It seems to be so. The white tiger said, and then it was puzzled. But why didn't they teleport here together? If they teleported here together, they could directly avoid the 3 heavenly masters. But they only teleported us here to continue to face the 3 heavenly masters. Could it be that there is something else too? Boom! Suddenly, the sky shook and thunder roared, directly interrupting its words. Chapter 2013. A huge thunderbolt vortex stretched across the sky. Black lightning raged, and the whole world seemed to be about to explode. In the blink of an eye, the green mountains were shrouded in a terrifying destructive aura. The white tiger and the little Taichu both trembled violently, and their expressions changed drastically. The lightning raging in the sky was too terrifying. The destructive aura was so strong that it was frightening. It seemed to want to swallow everything, and the whole world was shaking. Lin Tian was even more shocked. Naturally, he instantly recognized that this was his heavenly tribulation thunder punishment. The heavenly tribulation didn't disappear because I stepped into the saint realm. Instead, that spacetime isolated the aura of the outside world. When I advanced in that spacetime, the heavenly tribulation didn't come down. Now that I walked out of that spacetime and was sensed by the Tao of the outside world, the heavenly tribulation that hadn't come down before appeared at this time. He thought of many things at once. Boom! The sky trembled and thunder rumbled. The world became even darker as black lightning rampaged in the sky. Before it could truly descend, it had already shattered expanse after expanse of space. Even the mountains here collapsed one after another. Boy, hurry up and find a place where there are absolutely few people to go through the heavenly tribulation. This place is not suitable for it, the white tiger said anxiously. Although this place was a little remote, it wasn't very remote. Not far from here, there would definitely be other cultivators and creatures. If he went through the heavenly tribulation here, he would definitely be discovered by others. At that time, a saint-level expert could still trigger the heavenly tribulation. It would definitely cause a commotion, and it might cause a lot of trouble. Impossible, it can't stop. Lin Tian shook his head and said, You and the little guy, leave this place immediately. In the past, he could temporarily withdraw from the heavenly tribulation that he had triggered when he stepped into a major realm, causing the heavenly tribulation to disappear temporarily. He could then trigger it again later on. But now, he obviously couldn't do so. It was because he had stepped into the secondary saint realm from the God-Emperor realm, and then stepped into the ninth heaven of the saint realm from the secondary saint realm. Under such circumstances, how could he withdraw? There was no room for retreat at all. The heavenly tribulation couldn't be stopped no matter what. Moreover, at this moment, he felt a great threat. Perhaps it was because he had not triggered any heavenly tribulations after breaking through two great realms in a row. At this moment, the two heavenly tribulations pressed down together, as if they had fused together, producing some kind of drastic change. The aura caused him to shiver at this moment. Even with the protection of the reincarnation forging spirit technique, he was not 100% sure that he could survive this heavenly tribulation. His spirit was trembling violently, and he felt intense pain. The most obvious and direct observation of this drastic change was that the lightning of the previous heavenly tribulation was red. However, the lightning of this heavenly punishment had turned black. It was obviously more terrifying than the red lightning. Boom! The blue dome of heaven shook violently once again as another clap of thunder resounded. There was a black light recklessly streaking across the dusky heaven and earth, causing people to be horrified. Let's go! Lin Tian shouted. He could feel that the destructive lightning punishment was about to descend. The white tiger and the little Taichu were in the middle of it, and would definitely be implicated. Be careful! Yeah! The white tiger spoke, and so did the little Taichu. Naturally, they knew what the situation was at this time. Not only would they be in danger if they stayed here, but they would also affect Lin Tian's tribulation. Therefore, they immediately moved away as fast as they could. Only 10 days had passed in the outside world since they first entered the space-time space. However, they had spent 10,000 years in the space-time space and cultivated for 10,000 years. After cultivating for 10,000 years in the space-time space, they were now in the saint realm. At this time, their speed was naturally very fast. In the blink of an eye, they had moved extremely far away. It was also at this time that the blue dome of heaven shook again with a rumble. A dazzling black beam of light pressed straight down. This was a special heavenly punishment that combined the quasi-saint tribulation and saint tribulation into one. The first round of lightning punishment struck down with terrifying destructive power, as if it was a strike that could destroy the world. A large area of the void was directly annihilated. Before the black beam of light had truly pressed down, the ground under Lin Tian's feet instantly collapsed and sank by several feet. Lin Tian did not have the slightest bit of carelessness. He fully displayed his current cultivation of the ninth saint realm, and waved his Chaos Emperor fist to meet the attack. His fist was wrapped in saint-level saint power. In the blink of an eye, it collided with the black beam of light that struck down. It directly caused the nearby void to collapse and become even more dilapidated. Waves of destructive airflow swept out in all directions. Then, after a few breaths, the black beam of light was shattered by him. At the same time, blood flowed out from the tip of his fist. It was injured by the black beam of light, revealing the eerie white finger bones. Moreover, a terrifying force entered his body through the wound at the tip of his fist, wantonly destroying his body as if it wanted to collapse from the inside. This caused his heart to tremble. This special heavenly punishment that combined the quasi-saint's tribulation and saint's tribulation was indeed too strong, as he had sensed. This was merely the first round of the main lightning punishment, and it actually injured him. Moreover, the remnant might of the lightning actually entered his body through his wounds and continued to wreak havoc in his body, wreaking havoc in a frenzy. He gritted his teeth and activated the reincarnation spiritual forging technique. In an instant, his combat strength was multiplied tenfold. Then, the 5 heaven-shaking lightning incantation was activated as well. With the tenfold combat strength, he directly crushed the destructive lightning that entered his body. Boom! Almost at the same time, the sky shook violently. The second round of lightning punishment emerged. A black lightning river appeared, intertwined with traces of blood. It was as if the Milky Way was pressing down from the sky, wanting to destroy everything. The billowing destructive aura caused the world to tremble violently. It was unknown how many times stronger it was than the first round of lightning punishment. It shattered pieces of space and spread out in all directions, causing the living beings within a radius of tens of millions of miles to tremble violently. This aura is a heavenly tribulation? Someone is crossing the immortal ascension tribulation? How can a heavenly tribulation of the immortal ascension realm have such a terrifying destructive aura? Some cultivators sensed the destructive aura that carried the unique fluctuations of a heavenly tribulation. They were all shocked. "Let's go and take a look," someone spoke. Many cultivators rushed in the direction of the destructive aura of lightning. Boom! Heavenly thunder rumbled. In the sky where Lin Tian was, the black lightning was even more wantonly. It was extremely terrifying. The second round of lightning punishment that emerged from this special heavenly tribulation pressed down directly at this moment. The black lightning river was mixed with traces of blood. Wherever it passed, everything disintegrated. Everything began to collapse and be destroyed. Chapter 2014. The fist's radiance was dazzling. With his tenfold combat strength and the Chaos Emperor fist, the surging fist power shook the heavens and the earth. With a sizzling sound, the black lightning river that fell from the sky was instantly shattered. After all, although this round of the main lightning punishment was terrifying, Lin Tian's Chaos Emperor fist was also extremely powerful with his tenfold combat strength. It was naturally not difficult for him to shatter the second round of the main lightning punishment. Boom! In the sky, thunder rumbled and black lightning rampaged. With a sizzling sound, it shattered the space. As the second round of the main lightning punishment was shattered by Lin Tian, the third round of the main lightning punishment appeared in the blink of an eye. It was a black lightning rain. Within it, every bolt of lightning contained terrifying destructive power. It was enough to easily shatter a saint-level cultivator. Lin Tian was fearless. With tenfold combat strength, he activated the Chaos Emperor fist and met it again. With a sizzle, the third round of the main lightning punishment was still unable to do anything to him. It was easily shattered by him. Boom! Thunder rumbled and rumbled continuously. Round after round of the main lightning punishment continued to strike. In the blink of an eye, 9 rounds of the main lightning punishment had struck down. The 9 rounds of the main lightning punishment were all shattered by Lin Tian. Then, at this moment, the 10th round of the main lightning punishment pressed down. This was a sea of lightning. The black lightning was like a vast ocean. The waves were monstrous. One could even vaguely hear the sound of the waves crashing down from the sky. In an instant, the ground beneath Lin Tian's feet collapsed again. It sank a few feet deeper. Facing the 10th round of the main lightning punishment, Lin Tian's eyes intertwined with sacred light. He activated the 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique. Strands of black lightning arcs intertwined on the surface of his body. They turned into a black lightning beam and shot straight into the sky. The black lightning was a sign that the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation had reached the 5th level. After spending 10,000 years in space-time and cultivating for 10,000 years, his cultivation had reached the 9th heaven of the Saint realm. Naturally, he had cultivated the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation to the last level. Sizzle! The aura of the black lightning beam was ferocious and domineering. It had the power to weaken the lightning punishment of the heavenly tribulation. In the blink of an eye, it shattered the 10th round of lightning punishment. Lin Tian was at the center of Tianfu. The black lightning produced by the 5 heaven-shaking lightning spells circled around his body. The reincarnation forging spirit technique circulated, increasing his battle strength tenfold. Then, his saint domain was also supported by him. Inside, there were many mountains and rivers. Then, in the next moment, the 11th round of punishment appeared. Its aura was terrifying as it pressed down. Immediately after, the sound of thunder exploded, and round after round of main lightning punishment struck down one after another. In this place, the void was collapsing because of this heavenly punishment, and the earth was sinking because of this heavenly punishment. The surrounding green mountains had completely collapsed, and the territory was in ruins. Under such heavenly punishment, Lin Tian propped up his saint domain, channeling the reincarnation forging divine art and the 5 lightning heaven suppression art at the same time. Then, he also propped up the divine Tao of lightning and the divine Tao of nature to resist the heavenly punishment. In the blink of an eye, a total of 36 rounds of main lightning punishment struck down, and they were all shattered by Lin Tian one after another. However, the heavenly punishment still continued. With a rumble, the 37th round of main lightning punishment pressed down. Black lightning stars trembled, and it was extremely terrifying. Lin Tian's expression was heavy. Ever since he reached the airborne realm, he had been going through heavenly punishment. Along the way, he had gone through more than 20 heavenly punishments, but there had never been a single heavenly punishment with more than 37 rounds of main lightning punishment. At the same time, in the distance, the white tiger and the little Taichu were also shocked. It's been 37 rounds. Why is it still not stopping? The white tiger was anxious. Yeah. The little Taichu was also very worried. At this time, the heavenly punishment continued to strike down 37 rounds of main lightning punishment. Just watching from afar made their souls tremble. They could clearly feel that the heavenly punishment at this moment had become even more terrifying. As the main lightning punishment of the heavenly punishment continued to strike down, they were all anxious, worried about whether Lin Tian would be able to survive. It was also at this time that swishing sounds rang out. In a place further away, one figure after another appeared. Because of the terrifying aura of this heavenly tribulation, they had rushed over from afar. Then, all of them saw the rolling thunder in the sky of this place. It's really a heavenly punishment. This level of heavenly punishment, These cultivators came here and looked at the rolling thunder in the sky. All of them were shocked. The destructive aura of this heavenly punishment was really too strong. It was as if it was going to destroy the heavens. Even some of the quasi-saints among them were horrified. Then, these cultivators naturally saw Lin Tian at the center of the heavenly punishment, and they were shocked again. He's going through the heavenly punishment. He's the one who's going through the heavenly punishment? He's the one who attracted the heavenly punishment. He clearly has the saint's aura outside his body. He's a saint. A saint, attracted the heavenly punishment? How can this be? How is this possible? These cultivators were all in disbelief. Since ancient times, cultivators would only attract the lightning punishment of heavenly punishment when they stepped into the immortal realm. But now, a saint had actually attracted the heavenly punishment, and was undergoing the heavenly punishment here. Wait. This person isn't he the person that the celestial court was pursuing some time ago? That's right. I think it's that person. He killed a Celestial Court expert, and is related to a criminal wanted by the Celestial Court. He's wanted by the Celestial Court himself, and now he attracted the heavenly punishment as a saint. Who exactly is he? The Celestial Court's pursuit of Lin Tian was no secret. At this time, at this place, many people recognized Lin Tian. Seeing that Lin Tian was undergoing the heavenly punishment as a saint here, they were even more shocked. Gradually, more and more cultivators gathered here. Seeing this scene, all of them were shocked. Little Taichu and White Tiger saw the arrival of these cultivators, but there was nothing they could do. They could only watch Lin Tian undergo the heavenly punishment. Please don't let anything go wrong. The White Tiger had a praying look on its face, hoping that Lin Tian would be able to survive this heavenly tribulation safely. It hoped that other cultivators would not find out that Lin Tian had attracted the heavenly tribulation with his saint-level cultivation. Boom! The heavens shook and thunder rumbled. Round after round of the main lightning punishment struck down, and the destructive aura became stronger and stronger. Lin Tian was in the center of the heavenly punishment. He was focused on overcoming the heavenly punishment. Reincarnation forging spiritual skill, 5 Thunder Heaven Suppression Technique, Saint Region, Nature Divine Path, and Thunder Divine Path were all used together. In the blink of an eye, 55 rounds of the main lightning punishment had struck down, and almost half of his saint power had been consumed. At this time, the destructive power of the lightning punishment had become many times stronger. His physical body had been shaken into many bloody wounds. The threat of death gradually emerged, and his face became extremely grave. Boom! Chapter 2015. The 56th round of the main lightning punishment was extremely terrifying. When it landed on Lin Tian's body, a blinding light immediately flooded the surroundings. This time, Lin Tian couldn't block it. With a poof, his 9th heaven sage body was directly split into pieces. Blood splattered all over the sky. It was a ghastly sight. Kid! In the distance, the White Tiger and Little Taichu's expressions changed. The White Tiger couldn't help but cry out. At the same time, the other cultivators who had come to this place trembled. They weren't worried for Lin Tian, but they were shocked to see Lin Tian suddenly being split into pieces after going through dozens of rounds of the main lightning punishment. That feeling was exactly the same as when a mortal was walking in the dark night and suddenly saw a fierce ghost with a bloody face. He's already gone through dozens of rounds of the main lightning punishment. Is this a heavenly tribulation? Heavenly tribulation. Isn't 9 the limit, and only 9 rounds of the main lightning punishment? These cultivators were shocked and puzzled. According to ancient records, heavenly tribulation could only be triggered when a cultivator reached the immortal realm. Moreover, it was always 9 as the limit. But now, these cultivators were stunned. It was already shocking enough for a saint-level cultivator to trigger a heavenly tribulation. But unexpectedly, the heavenly tribulation he triggered still showed no signs of stopping after dozens of rounds of the main lightning punishment. Boom! The sky shook violently, and thunder exploded. A pitch-black lightning vortex appeared, as if it was going to swallow everything. Lin Tian's saint-level body collapsed. The broken pieces of flesh and the blood that splashed out quickly gathered together, and blood-red flames curled up. The sun's nirvana technique operated on its own, causing his physical body to reform in the blink of an eye. After reforming his physical body, he looked at the sky with a solemn expression. The heavenly tribulation that fused the 2 great realms, quasi-sage and saint-sage, was truly too terrifying. Even with the help of the reincarnation forging spirit technique that Wu Yi had created for him, it was incomparably difficult for him to hold on at this moment. At this moment, his entire body was in intense pain. Most importantly, as the one undergoing the tribulation, he could sense the heavenly tribulation to a certain extent. He could feel that this heavenly tribulation was far from over. There were at least a dozen more rounds of the main lightning punishment, and the following main lightning punishments would definitely be more terrifying than the previous one. At this moment, he had no confidence that he could survive this lightning punishment. Is that the only way? Under the sea of lightning, he glanced at the group of cultivators nearby and couldn't help but clench his fists tightly. Dong! Dazzling lightning radiance manifested, and another thunderbolt exploded. Within the pitch-black thunderbolt vortex, the 57th round of the main thunderbolt punishment appeared. It was one thunderbolt mountain after another, completely condensed from black thunderbolts, and its aura was terrifying. Following the appearance of the main lightning punishment, before it could even descend, Lin Tian trembled violently, and cracks appeared on his body. At the same time, the other cultivators nearby were horrified, and all of them trembled violently. Retreat! Retreat further away! Someone shouted and quickly retreated. Most of the cultivators who came to this place were below the quasi-sage realm. At this time, although they were very far from the center of the heavenly tribulation and couldn't be struck by the main lightning punishment, just the destructive aura of the 57th round of the main lightning punishment made these cultivators fearful. They felt like their bodies were about to shatter, and they didn't dare to continue staying in the same place. They all retreated further away. It was also at this time that the 57th round of the main lightning punishment directly struck down with a rumble. The black thunderbolts were connected one after another, as if they were going to crush the heavens. Lin Tian clenched his fists, gritted his teeth, and circulated the Sun Heart Sutra to the limit. The reincarnation forging spiritual technique, 5 heaven-shaking lightning technique, sacred domain, nature divine Tao, lightning divine Tao, and other techniques and Taos that were useful for him to overcome the heavenly tribulation were all activated. His entire body erupted with dazzling holy light, and he faced the 57th round of the main lightning punishment that was pressing down. In the blink of an eye, the 57th round of the main lightning punishment struck and directly collided with him. The space in all directions instantly collapsed. At the center of the heavenly tribulation, the destructive aura surged like the Milky Way. Poof! Lin Tian was struck into pieces again. Bright red blood splattered everywhere, and shredded flesh and shattered bones were scattered in the void above. It was a ghastly sight. However, his spirit was incomparably tough and indestructible. The Sun Nirvana technique was activated, and blood-red flames leaped. Soon, his physical body was reformed again. He was panting slightly, and his face had already become very pale. He had suffered very serious injuries. However, the heavenly tribulation didn't give him a chance to catch his breath. The 58th round of the main lightning punishment appeared and instantly pressed down. Then, the rumbling sound of thunder became louder and louder. The 59th round of the main lightning punishment, the 60th round of the main lightning punishment, and the 61st round of the main lightning punishment appeared one after another. They pressed down mightily, and everywhere they passed, everything was destroyed. Lin Tian gritted his teeth and supported all his techniques to resist with all his might. Poof! 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 Bright red blood splattered everywhere. Under the combination of the heavenly tribulation of the quasi-saint tribulation and the saint tribulation, the destructive power of the lightning punishment had reached a point where it was difficult for him to resist. At this time, within the main lightning punishment, someone as powerful as him was shattered again and again. Blood continued to splatter everywhere, and his essence, chi, and spirit quickly weakened to the bottom. There's no hope. Such a heavenly tribulation. It's impossible for him to survive. He can't stop it. Far away, a group of cultivators was horrified by the aura of the heavenly tribulation at this time. At the same time, many people shook their heads. Looking at the scene in front of them, they had already seen the clues. Lin Tian was beginning to lose the ability to resist, and his life force was weakening. Even if he can't survive it, he's destined to be famous in the world. A saint can actually attract a heavenly tribulation, someone said. Rumble. Thunder rumbled, and black lightning kept falling. Brat, hang in there. You're Lin Tian. A mere heavenly tribulation lightning punishment won't be difficult for you. Shatter it like before. Shatter it! Ya! Ya! In the distance, the white tiger couldn't help but shout. Little Taichu also spoke. Seeing Lin Tianyi being chopped into pieces again and again, feeling that Lin Tian's essence, qi, and spirit were constantly weakening, and the heavenly tribulations still showed no signs of stopping. They were extremely anxious. In the center of the heavenly tribulation, blood-red flames jumped. The broken pieces of flesh and bones gathered together, and Lin Tian once again reformed his physical body. His face was extremely pale, and his aura was extremely weak. His body was trembling uncontrollably, and he almost didn't even have the strength to stand up. Dong! Thunder exploded, shaking all directions. The 60-second round of the main lightning punishment appeared. It was a black lightning palace, and the destructive power was much more terrifying than the previous rounds of the main lightning punishments. As this round of the main lightning punishment appeared, the space in all directions trembled violently in an instant, and the entire world seemed to be about to collapse. Lin Tian trembled violently. This round of the main lightning punishment hadn't been suppressed yet, but it made his spirit feel intense pain, and blood flowed out of his mouth. Brat, shatter it! Shatter it! In the distance, the white tiger shouted. Seeing Lin Tian's body trembling under the heavenly tribulation, it was really afraid that Lin Tian wouldn't be able to withstand it. Ya! Lin Tian! Little Taichu was also anxious and shouted from afar. Lin Tian could hear their voices and hear their worry. He closed his eyes slightly and then opened them again. I can only use that method, he muttered to himself, looking at the rolling thunder in the sky. His eyes suddenly became very sharp, and his black hair moved without wind. The next moment, he formed a seal with one hand, and his body trembled slightly. Chapter 2016. Lin Tian's black hair fluttered and danced wildly. Being in the center of the heavenly tribulation, his aura began to recover rapidly. On the surface of his body, the black lightning intertwined with the 5 heaven-shaking thunders incantation suddenly became violent. The crackling sound was extremely ear-piercing, and it shook the already dilapidated void in the vicinity, causing it to become even more dilapidated and collapse inch by inch. His aura is recovering? Is he becoming stronger? What's going on? Why did he suddenly? This? In the distance, the group of cultivators were all shocked. Lin Tian's aura had clearly weakened to the point where it seemed as if he had lost the ability to resist and could not even stand properly. However, at this time, his aura suddenly began to recover. Moreover, they clearly did not see Lin Tian use any divine pills or miraculous medicine. At the same time, the white tiger and little Taichu were also shocked and then revealed looks of joy. Good! Good! The white tiger clenched its claws. Squeak! The little Taichu also made a sound. They also did not understand why Lin Tian's essence, energy, and spirit suddenly rose sharply at this time. However, they were naturally happy that Lin Tian's aura was improving. Boom! Thunder roared and a pitch-black lightning vortex stretched across the sky. The 60-second round of the main lightning punishment did not immediately descend. It continued to brew in the lightning vortex, and the destructive aura became stronger and stronger. The entire sky seemed to be about to collapse. Lin Tian was in the center of the heavenly tribulation. His eyes were sharp and indifferent as he looked at the increasingly terrifying lightning in the sky. His black hair danced wildly in the wind, and the aura on his body grew stronger at a rapid pace. The surrounding space became even more chaotic and collapsed even more violently because of the rapidly increasing aura on his body. Let's see what you can do to me. His voice was cold. He had the reincarnation constitution, the strongest constitution and the strongest bloodline in the world. In order to prevent his constitution from being exposed again and to prevent people other than his family and friends from finding out, he had sealed his reincarnation constitution to a certain extent. After that, whether it was people above the heavenly venerable level or special dead people, no one could see through his reincarnation constitution. Even if someone used their spirit to enter his life essence, They would not be able to tell that he was a reincarnated body if they did not carefully investigate. It was precisely because of this method that the evil blood ancestor was unable to tell that he was a reincarnated body when he used his spirit to enter his life essence in the extreme Yin Hall. However, although this method was very ingenious and could prevent others from seeing through his constitution, it had a certain flaw. That was because his life essence was sealed and suppressed. His battle prowess could not truly be unleashed to its peak. In the past few years, he had never truly unleashed his peak potential, truly unleashing his greatest battle prowess. Once he truly unleashed his peak potential and unleashed his greatest battle prowess, his constitution would immediately be exposed. Before this, he had encountered many dangers. These dangers were either not something that could be dealt with by unsealing his life essence, or could be avoided. There was no need to unseal his life essence. Therefore, ever since he sealed his life essence, he had never unsealed it even though he had encountered danger time and time again. But now, he had unsealed his life essence here. This was because, at this time, under the heavenly tribulation, unsealing the origin was useful and necessary for him. If he unsealed his life essence now, and used the reincarnation forging mind technique that Wu Yi had created for him, he was confident that he could survive this heavenly tribulation in one piece. However, if he did not unseal his life essence, he was certain that he would not be able to escape death. At the same time, he also knew that there were many cultivators surrounding this place, and watching him undergo the tribulation from afar. Once his quintessence was completely unsealed, these people would instantly see through his reincarnation physique, and it would definitely cause great trouble in the future. However, at this moment, he could no longer care about that because if he didn't unseal his quintessence at this moment, he would definitely not be able to survive. If he was about to die, then what was the point of worrying about that? Boom! His source was unsealing bit by bit, his aura rapidly rising. It was as if a volcano that had been dormant for endless years was erupting, as if a matchless demonic sovereign was awakening. In this place, the surrounding space began to tremble even more intensely. In the blink of an eye, his aura recovered and his injuries healed. Moreover, his vitality continued to rise. Then, in a short span of 3 breaths, his essence, chi, and soul climbed to an extremely shocking level. It was also at this moment that the reincarnation origin that he had used a special method to seal was completely unsealed. Roar! At that moment, divine light surged around him. Vaguely, the roars of gods and demons rang out from his body, shaking up the entire world. A golden pillar of saint force radiated out from him. It surged violently and pierced into the sky. Sizzle! The 60-second lightning tribulation that was still brewing in the sky was forcefully pulverized by the divine light. The pitch-black lightning vortex could not help but tremble. The surrounding space constantly twisted. At the same time, the cultivators who resided extremely far away all trembled as their expressions changed drastically. He. The cultivators all trembled. All the cultivators there shuddered. At that very moment, the rolling lightning bolts up in the sky suddenly disappeared from their eyes. It was as though they could no longer sense the terrifying aura of devastation from the heavenly tribulation up in the sky. All of their gazes fell upon Lin Tian. Looking at Lin Tian, the cultivators all trembled. Their faces were filled with horror and disbelief. Reincarnation body? He's a reincarnation body, a saint-level powerhouse said in a trembling voice. His body was also trembling. His eyes could not help but flicker. Even his hands were trembling. In the legends, the strongest physique and the strongest bloodline. He's actually. The cultivators were all stunned. They were almost stunned. Even some of the saint-level powerhouses were no exception. What did they see? In this place, Lin Tian, who had attracted the heavenly tribulation with his saint-level cultivation, was actually a reincarnation body. It was the legendary strongest physique that had never appeared before. It could suppress all king physiques and all bloodlines in the world. At the same time, the white tiger and little Taichu's expressions also changed. It was not because of Lin Tian's reincarnation body. They both knew that Lin Tian was a reincarnation body. The reason for their expressions was that Lin Tian had exposed his reincarnation physique at this moment. If they could see through it now, so could the others. They would definitely be in big trouble in the future. How did this happen? The white tiger clenched its claws. Lin Tian was at the center of the heavenly tribulation. Holy light surged around his body. As his reincarnation origin was completely unsealed, coupled with the reincarnation forging spiritual art, his essence, qi, and spirit were many times stronger than before. Black lightning circled around his body, crackling as it exploded. He was like a thunder god that could destroy the world. Dong! Chapter 2017. The 63rd round of the main lightning punishment fell, and the sky became even darker. Boundless lightning spread, and it was extremely terrifying. The sky seemed to be collapsing, and the aura of destruction surged. It was terrifying. Lin Tian was in the center of the heavenly tribulation, and black electric arcs surrounded his body. His aura was terrifyingly strong, and he directly waved his emperor fist. With a boom, a dazzling fist light shot out from the tip of his fist, and in the blink of an eye, it entered the sky and collided with the 63rd round of the main lightning punishment that was descending. Chi! With a soft sound, the 63rd round of the main lightning punishment shattered immediately. Such a scene caused many of the surrounding cultivators to be horrified. Previously, Lin Tian's tribulation had clearly been so difficult, but now, when he faced this even more terrifying 63rd round of tribulation lightning, he directly shattered it with a single punch. This is the true combat power of a reincarnated being? This is simply... Many people trembled, and they were still shocked by the fact that Lin Tian was a reincarnated being. At the same time, they were also shocked by this scene. Boom! The lightning did not stop, and it became even more violent. The pitch-black lightning vortex was horizontal in the sky, and the black lightning was rampant inside, and the aura became even more terrifying. Again! Lin Tian stood under the heavenly tribulation, and his eyes were sharp. The black hair in front of his forehead danced, and he looked like an immortal peerless god of war. Dong! As soon as he finished speaking, the sky immediately exploded, and the 64th round of the main lightning punishment appeared. Then, the 65th, 66th, and 67th rounds of the main lightning punishment appeared together, and pressed down one after another. For a moment, the space in this place was even more severely damaged, and the territory sank again because of this aura. Lin Tian's eyes were cold. After his origin was unsealed, he could truly unleash his peak combat power, and he was not afraid of the descending heavenly punishment. Buzz! The reincarnation diagram rushed up from behind him, and it was mixed with vastness, holiness, and pressure. It turned into a ray of light that rushed towards the sky. This was his king's region, and it was extremely powerful. In addition, he had unsealed his origin at this moment, and coupled with the reincarnation spiritual forging technique, the power of the king's region was extremely terrifying. In an instant, it crushed the 64th round of the main lightning punishment that was pressing down. Immediately afterwards, One Yu continued to move towards the sky and crushed the 65th, 66th, and 67th rounds of the main thunder punishment. Chi! 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 3 soft sounds rang out. The 65th, 66th, and 67th main lightning punishments all shattered in the blink of an eye. After that, Wan Yu didn't stop. Instead, he interweaved with monstrous saint energy and pressed it towards the thunderbolt vortex in the sky. In the blink of an eye, the reincarnation diagram rushed into the lightning vortex and exploded in the lightning vortex, causing the lightning vortex to tremble violently. The bomb was directly destroyed. Dong! A deafening roar came from the lightning vortex, and there seemed to be an invisible and terrifying existence inside. At this moment, it was furious that Lin Tian couldn't die after being struck for a long time. The 68th round of the main lightning punishment appeared, and a total of 9 layers of lightning sea condensed together. Each layer was interweaved with an extremely terrifying aura, as if it was going to destroy everything. A violent gust of wind swept up one after another, and it was also mixed with a shocking destructive power. It shattered pieces of space one after another. The speed at which the void was reorganized could no longer keep up with the speed of the shattering, and the spatial turbulence spread out wantonly. Lin Tian raised his hand, and the reincarnation spiritual forging technique was stacked 10 times his combat power. The reincarnation diagram of the king's region was once again supported. Moreover, the nameless Tao Law, Thunder Divine Tao, and Nature Divine Tao also emerged together and overlapped with each other, turning into his most powerful Divine Tao reincarnation diagram. As soon as the reincarnation diagram of the Divine Tao was released, the reincarnation origin was completely unsealed, and the battle power was stacked 10 times. With his cultivation at the 9th heaven of the Saint Realm, the power was so powerful that even heaven and earth trembled. Chi! Before the 68th round of the main lightning punishment could truly descend, it was directly shattered by the reincarnation diagram of the Divine Tao. Lin Tian's gaze was sharp as he stared at the pitch-black lightning vortex in the sky. He took a step forward and turned into a ray of light that rushed into the sky. Holding the reincarnation diagram of the Divine Tao, he directly pressed against the lightning vortex. Moreover, the 5 lightning divine domain of the 5 lightning heaven shaking technique was also opened by him. The black 5 lightning divine technique rose against the sky and pressed against the heavenly tribulation vortex together with the reincarnation diagram of the Divine Tao. Such a scene caused the nearby cultivators to be shocked again. Many of them couldn't help but tremble. Since ancient times, cultivators had been forced to shatter the main lightning punishment that descended from the heavenly tribulation again and again. But now, Lin Tian actually went against the sky and attacked the lightning vortex of the heavenly tribulation with the divine technique. This was a little crazy. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian rushed into the lightning vortex. The 5 lightning divine technique and the reincarnation diagram of the Divine Tao clashed in the lightning vortex, releasing wave after wave of terrifying saint aura. The black lightning that belonged to the 5 lightning heaven shaking technique that surrounded his body collided with the black lightning of the heavenly tribulation. The two of them sizzled and shattered each other, shaking the sky. Boom! Explosions rumbled in the lightning vortex. The main lightning punishments constantly appeared, each one more terrifying than the last. Lin Tian was surrounded by black lightning. He propped up the reincarnation diagram of the Divine Tao and channeled the reincarnation forging spiritual technique. He charged into the lightning vortex that constantly appeared with the main lightning punishments, shattering them one after another. He even rushed into the depths of the lightning vortex, bombarding it with terrifying fists. The lightning vortex constantly trembled and cracks appeared one after another. In the blink of an eye, he charged into the lightning vortex. He was like a god of destruction fighting. He endured the main lightning punishments one after another until he reached the 80th main lightning punishment. The destructive aura became even more terrifying, as if it wanted to devour the entire world. However, Lin Tian had completely unsealed the origin of samsara. Coupled with the reincarnation forging spiritual technique that Wu Yi had created for him, his battle prowess was just too great. With so many techniques, the terrifying 80th main lightning punishment was still useless against him. It was shattered in the blink of an eye. The last round. Come! He was in the lightning vortex, surrounded by lightning. His voice was cold, intertwined with a domineering aura that looked down on the world. He could feel that this special heavenly tribulation was only left with the last round of the main lightning punishment. If he could endure it, he would have passed. Boom! Almost as soon as he finished speaking, the firmament exploded, and the loudest and most terrifying sound of thunder rang out. Within the lightning vortex, numerous phantoms appeared. There were angels with broken wings, headless knights, immortals with broken arms, ferocious ghosts, ferocious savage beasts, and blind blood shadows. All of them were condensed from lightning, and they were intertwined with an extremely terrifying aura of destruction. The moment they appeared, they caused this place to shake violently, and the heavens and earth seemed to be on the verge of disintegrating. Facing this dense lightning shadow, Lin Tian once again felt a sense of threat, and a deathly pressure appeared. However, his expression did not change at all. With a thought, he directly channeled the Sun Heart Sutra to the limit. At the same time, he shook the origin of samsara, causing its aura to rise wildly. The origin of samsara in his body boiled like a torrent. The light of reincarnation origin rushed out of his body and surrounded him, exuding an extremely vast aura. Chapter 2018. Countless phantoms of gods and demons appeared, all of them exuding a terrifying aura. This is... Outside the range of the heavenly tribulation, the expressions of all the cultivators changed drastically. Even Lin Tian himself was shocked. He had not expected this to happen at all. He had only activated the origin of reincarnation and unleashed his peak potential. He had not expected this to happen. Then, his saint body trembled slightly, and he was shocked again. As the phantoms of gods and demons appeared, his saint power was being consumed rapidly and decreased rapidly. Roar! Countless gods and demons roared, their voices shaking the sky and causing the world to tremble. Above the firmament, the pitch-black lightning vortex shook violently. Because of the roar, cracks appeared one after another. After that, the lightning became even more berserk. In the unseen world, there really seemed to be a supreme existence within. At this moment, that supreme existence was completely enraged. The entire lightning vortex, together with 6 different types of destructive lightning, pressured towards Lin Tian. This was a terrifying scene. The pitch-black lightning vortex struck down with endless lightning and destructive lightning phantoms. It was as if the firmament was really pressing down. The destructive aura completely covered the space within a radius of 10,000 feet. Retreat! Run! Someone cried out in horror. They had already retreated far away. Now that they were facing the final round of the main lightning punishment, just the shockwaves alone caused many cultivators to be terrified. All of them fled into the distance. The white tiger and the little Taichu also retreated once again. This last round of the main lightning punishment was really too terrifying. Rumbling sounds could be heard as destructive gales swept out in all directions, sweeping out in all directions. Lin Tian stood under the heavenly tribulation, facing the pitch-black lightning vortex and sensing the terrifying destructive aura. He quickly put away his surprise at the phantoms of gods and demons that appeared behind him, and his eyes became fierce again. Kill! He spat out these words in a low voice. His black hair danced, and killing intent surged out of his body, as well as his battle chi. Behind him, the phantoms of gods and demons seemed to have sensed his killing intent and battle chi, and they roared again. In the next moment, the souls of the gods and demons soared into the sky and charged towards the lightning vortex. In the blink of an eye, the fiend god soul phantoms clashed with the lightning phantoms and the lightning vortex. Rumble! In this place, the space in all directions had completely collapsed. Hurricane after hurricane surged wildly. In the blink of an eye, a total of 7 breaths had passed. The lightning vortex disappeared, the dense lightning shadows disappeared, and the fiend god's souls also disappeared. The darkness in the sky gradually dispersed, and the world became bright once more. Smoke and dust swirled in the air. Bolts of lightning crackled before disappearing. Lin Tian's face was a little pale. He was panting slightly, but he still stood in the air. Buzz! The sky trembled as 7-colored divine radiance revolved around it. A 7-colored auspicious cloud converged, intertwining with the divine and auspicious aura. For a time, all the cultivators in the distance were moved. I've endured it, someone said with a trembling voice. That terrifying heavenly tribulation seemed to be able to destroy everything. Just the aftermath alone was terrifying. Now, Lin Tian had endured it perfectly. Reincarnation constitution. He can even attract heavenly tribulation at the sage level. A total of 81 rounds of heavenly tribulation. He has withstood all of them, many cultivators muttered to themselves in a trembling voice. At the same time, they could not help but tremble slightly. On this day, what they saw in this place was too shocking. It was almost unforgettable. In the distance, the white tiger and the little Taichu were overjoyed. He made it! That's great! Yeah! Both of them were overjoyed as they headed towards Lin Tian's place. It was also at this moment that the sound of something breaking through the air suddenly rang out. In the crowd far away, dozens of figures moved. All of them were intertwined with the aura of a sage king. They all rushed towards Lin Tian, who had just survived the heavenly tribulation. Such a scene caused many cultivators to change their expressions again. The strongest physique. Its origin is the supreme treasure of heaven and earth. It surpasses everything. Everyone wants to obtain it. Some of the older cultivators murmured. After the other cultivators were moved, they also understood why these sage kings rushed towards Lin Tian. At this time, Lin Tian, who had just survived the heavenly tribulation, was very weak. These people did not want to let go of this opportunity, and wanted to seize the reincarnation origin. You're all courting death! Yeah! The white tiger and the little Taichu were shocked and angry. They rushed towards Lin Tian as fast as they could. From afar, they used their great magical powers and secret techniques to suppress the dozens of sage kings who were rushing towards Lin Tian. For a moment, rumbling sounds could be heard. Even though they were only sages, their auras were very terrifying. They could be called kings in the same realm, especially the little Taichu, who was at the 9th heaven of sages. At this time, his entire body was surging with 6-colored divine light. 6-colored divine flames covered the sky as if they were going to ignite the heavens. However, their speed could not compare to the sage kings. In the blink of an eye, dozens of sage kings rushed in front of Lin Tian. Their eyes were filled with greed and madness. This was because in front of them was a reincarnation entity, the strongest physique in heaven and earth. As long as they seized Lin Tian's reincarnation origin, they would obtain endless benefits. Their future achievements would be limitless. They might even become a new reincarnation entity. With a rumbling sound, dozens of large hands grabbed at Lin Tian together, causing the space around Lin Tian to shatter. Damn it! Get lost! The white tiger roared angrily and crazily sped up. The little Taichu was also anxious and angry. He increased his speed again and used his special ability. The four-spirit guardian divine elephant shook the sky. At this time, they could feel that Lin Tian, who had survived the destructive heavenly tribulation, was very weak. His saint power was almost depleted. Under such circumstances, he was no match for dozens of sage kings. Don't come over. Watch from the side. It was also at this time that Lin Tian's voice rang out, causing the white tiger and the little Taichu to be moved. They could not help but be stunned. After going through this heavenly tribulation, his saint energy was almost depleted, and he did not have much left. However, facing the dozens of Saint King level powerhouses who were charging at him, his expression did not change at all. His eyes were cold and piercing. 7-colored divine light intertwined in his body. A divine sword rushed out from his sea of consciousness, and immediately emitted a monstrous sword power. Clang! The ear-piercing sound of the sword rang out in all directions, directly shattering the sky. The dozens of sage kings who were charging at him immediately trembled. The madness, greed, and excitement in their eyes suddenly dissipated by a lot. Such a sharp sword will made their souls ache. They could not help but feel a bone-piercing chill run down their spines. Then, they stopped in their tracks and quickly retreated. However, they had all rushed too close to Lin Tian. At this time, although they retreated very quickly, they could not completely avoid the sharp sword chi emitted by the 7-colored divine sword. Pft! 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 Chapter 2019. The blood was bright red and dazzling. Dozens of saint kings were cut into pieces at the same time, causing the expressions of the cultivators here to change again. That sword! Many cultivators trembled. At this time, they could all feel the terrifying sword power of the seven-colored divine sword beside Lin Tian. That sword power seemed to be able to easily annihilate everything. At the same time, the white tiger and little Taichu were also moved. This kid can summon that sword again! The white tiger was pleasantly surprised. It knew very well how terrifying this seven-colored divine sword was. It was definitely not weaker than a heaven-reaching divine weapon. Since Lin Tian had summoned this sword, then there should be no danger in front of them. After all, it could feel that the strongest cultivators here were only Saint Kings. People of this level could not withstand the power of the seven-colored divine sword at all. Goyalu! Flesh and bones wriggled. The blood all over the sky gathered in different directions. Dozens of Saint Kings were cut into pieces, but their souls were immortal. At this time, they reformed their bodies. This was a total of 35 Saint Kings. The strongest was at the third heaven of the Saint King realm. At this time, the madness and greed in their eyes for Lin Tian's reincarnation origin disappeared even more. Looking at the seven-colored divine sword beside Lin Tian, the Saint Kings could not help but tremble. Lin Tian stood in the sky and looked coldly at the dozens of Saint Kings. He reached out to grab the seven-colored divine sword and slashed straight down. Clang! The sound of the sword was ear-piercing. It landed on the person in front of the dozens of Saint Kings. This time, he controlled the sword with his mind. The sword light was undoubtedly much more terrifying than before. It was terrifyingly swift and fierce. With a poof, the Saint King at the front did not have time to dodge and was directly hit. He exploded again. And this time, his soul was not able to survive. It was annihilated by the sword light along with the Saint King's body. Dead? A Saint King, one hit. Many cultivators were terrified. At the same time, the other 34 Saint Kings trembled again. The greed for the reincarnation origin in their eyes completely disappeared. Then, in the next moment, these Saint Kings did not hesitate, and all retreated far away. Don't even think about leaving after attacking me, Lin Tianling said. The sword in his hand trembled. It instantly erupted with sword might. A seven-colored sword realm appeared and completely sealed the space within 100 feet. All 34 Saint Kings were all trapped. When he unsealed his origin, he knew that he would be targeted by some people in this place. The moment the heavenly tribulation dispersed, they would attack and steal his reincarnation origin. Therefore, after unsealing his origin, he immediately communicated with the rainbow divine sword in his sea of consciousness while he was undergoing the heavenly tribulation. Finally, when the last heavenly tribulation passed, he successfully communicated with the rainbow divine sword in his sea of consciousness. The rainbow divine sword in his sea of consciousness gave him a response. He summoned the seven-colored divine sword. Even though he did not have much saint power left, he could still use this sword to unleash a destructive sword light. It was no problem for him to deal with Saint Kings. Moreover, at this moment, the rainbow clouds hovered in the sky after the heavenly tribulation dispersed. Seven-colored divine light descended, enveloping him. His vitality rapidly recovered. The might of the divine swords he could use would become more and more powerful with the passage of time. The several dozen Saint Kings had no way of contending with him at all. It was impossible for them to stop him. Clang! The sword realm trapped dozens of people. He waved his sword again. Another seven-colored sword light slashed out and landed on another Saint King. This Saint King tried to block it, but he could not block it at all. The divine technique he used was directly shattered. Then, the sword light landed on his body. With a poof, it shattered. His spiritual soul was also shattered along with his physical body, vanishing into thin air. Another Saint King! In the distance, many cultivators could not help but tremble. In the blink of an eye, 2 Saint Kings had been wiped out. Moreover, it was all with one strike. Of the 35 Saint Kings, only 33 were left now. They trembled even more violently. You! The 33 people looked at Lin Tian. For a moment, their expressions became extremely ugly. They saw that Lin Tian's aura had weakened to the bottom after passing the heavenly tribulation. They wanted to take the opportunity to capture Lin Tian and seize Lin Tian's reincarnation origin. However, they did not expect that Lin Tian would summon such a terrifying divine sword. The power of this sword was too strong. It terrified them. At this moment, their bodies were in intense pain from the pressure of the sword might. Lin Tian looked at the 33 Saint Kings. Without saying anything, he stood where he was and waved the divine sword in his hand again. With a clang, this time, a total of 3 sword lights flew out and pierced through the great void. Poof! 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 The 3 Saint Kings were pierced. Their physical bodies exploded. Their spiritual souls were also shattered. Just like the previous 2, their spiritual souls were destroyed. For a moment, the remaining 30 Saint Kings were even more terrified. Stop! Stop! We only had bad intentions. We haven't done anything to you yet. Don't kill us! Someone said. At this moment, the surrounding space had been sealed up by the sword world, so they were unable to escape. Moreover, the might of the 7-colored sword in Lin Tian's hand was so terrifying that they were unable to resist it. As a result, they could only beg for mercy. Lin Tian looked at the person who spoke. His eyes were cold. Still, he did not say anything and directly slashed out with his sword. Pooh! As expected, this Saint King who spoke was directly obliterated in body and soul. Blood mist drifted in the air. In the blink of an eye, only 29 of the 35 Saint Kings were left. Hum! In the sky, the rainbow auspicious clouds trembled after the heavenly tribulation. More rainbow light fell and entered Lin Tian's body. This rainbow light was the condensation of the great Tao of heaven and earth. It contained endless energy. After entering his body, his saint energy that was about to dry up from the heavenly tribulation quickly recovered. In the blink of an eye, he had recovered 30% of his saint energy. After recovering 30% of his saint energy, his face gradually became rosy and was no longer pale. He waved the divine sword again. With a loud clang, this time, a total of 7 sword lights flew out. The sword might was even more terrifying than before, and each sword light accurately landed on a Saint King's body. In the blink of an eye, the 7 Saint Kings all exploded into a mist of blood. Another 7 Saint Kings were destroyed in body and soul. You didn't lose anything now. Don't be too cruel. Don't be too ruthless. There were only 22 of the 35 Saint Kings left. One of them spoke, and the Saint King's body could not help but tremble. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked. Without saying anything, he slashed out with his sword just like before. Poof! Blood splattered. The person who spoke was cut into pieces. Like the other Saint Kings, their bodies and souls were destroyed. In the sky, the rainbow auspicious clouds trembled. More rainbow light fell, causing his saint energy to recover to 50%. Chapter 2020. His sword aura was extremely sharp. He raised his sword and slashed down at the last 22 Saint Kings. With a clang, a sharp sword light shot out and directly cut another Saint King into pieces. Even his divine soul was shattered. You are so cruel! You've already killed more than a dozen people, and you still want to continue? One of the remaining Saint Kings said angrily. At the same time, there was fear in his eyes. Lin Tian tilted his head and looked at him coldly. The 7-colored divine sword released a blinding sword light and cut this person into pieces. A group of people had their eyes on his reincarnation origin and came to suppress him to steal his origin. They were no match for him and were killed by him. Now they were saying such words. This really disgusted him. He shook the divine sword in his hand. Sharp sword chi swept out and completely enveloped this area in sword aura. The remaining 21 Saint Kings were all shocked by this sword chi. They could not help but tremble. Damn it! Let's fight it out with him! Someone roared in shock and anger. Saint power surged out and directly came into contact with his strongest divine technique. Then, Almost at the same time, the other Saint Kings also attacked together. They knew that Lin Tian would not show mercy. At this time, in order to survive, they all used their strongest techniques. Dozens of destructive divine techniques pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian's expression was cold. After the heavenly tribulation dispersed, the seven-colored light fell from the sky and enveloped him, causing his essence, qi, and spirit to rise. He stood in place and waved the seven-colored divine sword in his hand. Streaks of sharp sword light shot out. Poof! 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 Blood splattered everywhere as one Saint King after another was cut down, accompanied by horrified screams. In the blink of an eye, there was only one Saint King left. Within the range of the sword realm, he staggered back again and again. Spare me! Spare me! Even though he knew that Lin Tian would not show mercy, this last Saint King could not help but tremble and beg for mercy. Lin Tianyi did not say a word. He raised his hand and slashed, destroying this person's body and spirit. Dead, all dead, 35 Saint Kings, just like that. In the distance, the cultivators couldn't help but tremble. Lin Tian held the seven-colored divine sword and scanned the surrounding cultivators coldly. Who else wants my source energy? His voice was ice-cold. As soon as these words were spoken, all the cultivators trembled violently. They all shook their heads and couldn't help but stagger backwards. What a joke! More than 30 Saint King Realm Masters had been killed in the blink of an eye, so how could any of them below the Saint King Realm dare step forward to die? Even if he had the heart to seize the source of reincarnation, he didn't have the strength or guts to do so. Lin Tian swept his gaze over the crowd. Holding the seven-colored divine sword, he stood in the void. After a pause, he retracted his gaze. Buzz! After the heaven's tribulation dispersed, the seven-colored auspicious clouds hovered above his head, sprinkling down strands of seven-colored light that contained the boundless power of heaven and earth. At this moment, he was channeling the Heart Sutra of Sun, quickly refining the power of this seven-colored light. As such, the aura on his body grew stronger bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, a full 15 minutes had passed. After 15 minutes, with the help of the power of the seven-colored auspicious clouds, his essence, qi, and spirit had completely recovered. His strength had increased a lot, and he was even closer to the Saint King realm. At the same time, the seven-colored auspicious clouds trembled slightly and slowly disappeared. With two whooshing sounds, the little Taichu and the white tiger flashed over. Let's go. Lin Tian glanced at the cultivators here, called the little Taichu and the white tiger, and directly went into the distance. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared from the sight of the cultivators here. The cultivators stood in place, many of them dumbfounded. His divine sword is too powerful. It's at least a sovereign-level precious weapon, or even stronger. What's that sword? The most important thing is his physique. The reincarnation physique, the legendary physique, the strongest physique that has never appeared, actually appeared. I actually saw the legendary strongest physique. Many cultivators looked in the direction Lin Tian left, their eyes flashing. The reincarnation physique, the legendary strongest physique that had never appeared before, could suppress all the king physiques and bloodlines. Any physique and bloodline were not worth mentioning in front of the reincarnation physique. Many cultivators originally thought that such a physique would never appear. After all, it was too heaven-defying and shocking. However, they did not expect that such a physique would appear now. The heaven realm is going to be in an uproar, an older cultivator murmured. Then, on this day, what happened in this place seemed to have grown wings in the blink of an eye, spreading to all parts of the heaven realm. There were even people who sent out spiritual imprints, which included Lin Tian's appearance and the scene of Lin Tian's heavenly tribulation. For a moment, the entire heaven realm of nothingness was shaken. Reincarnation. Reincarnation physique? It appeared? This person. Isn't he the person that the celestial court has been chasing a while ago? He's actually a reincarnation physique? Reincarnation physique, this. Everywhere in the heaven realm, in different places, everyone was shocked. The appearance of the legendary strongest king physique caused such a huge commotion that the entire heaven realm was in an uproar. Reincarnation physique! It's mine! Inside the ancient successions and forbidden lands, eyes sprang open one after another. Their eyes were filled with godly glows. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. In a green mountain in the void realm, after transcending the heavenly tribulation, Lin Tian left the place where he transcended the tribulation with the white tiger and the little Tai Chu. He stayed in this ordinary green mountain and spent 3 days in seclusion to stabilize his realm. On this day, he came out of seclusion. "Boy, you're in big trouble now," the white tiger said, his face full of worry. The reincarnation physique was known as the strongest physique. This was indisputable. The reincarnation origin was definitely the #1 treasure in the world, the #1 panacea. Countless people wanted to get it, and even experts at the heaven realm could not resist that temptation. Now that Lin Tian's reincarnation physique was exposed and spread everywhere, it would definitely attract one ancient existence after another. "Do you know where your perverted master is? Ask him to come out and protect us. Otherwise, we'll be in big trouble." It was a little anxious. Lin Tian shook his head. His master was always wandering around. How could he know where he was now? The white tiger gritted its teeth. "Then, we'll leave the void realm with the realm crossing talisman given by Xianhuan and go to the lower realm. Those in the heaven realm who want to seize the reincarnation origin will probably only search in the void realm. They didn't expect us to go to the lower realm." Boom! Suddenly, a powerful saint aura came from afar. Holy light swept across, and waves of light surged, shattering many nearby mountains. The mountains collapsed, and the green mountain where Lin Tian and the others were also collapsed, revealing Lin Tian and the others. Reincarnation physique, found! Chapter 2021. Over the past few days, the Void Realm had been in an uproar. They were all shocked by the birth of the reincarnation body. At the same time, many experts had their eyes on the reincarnation origin. One expert after another moved, searching for Lin Tian all over the heaven realm. At this time, 3 ninth heaven saint kings appeared here. They had been friends for 10,000 years. They worked together to search. When they passed by many mountains, they bombarded them with their saint power. They never thought that they would find Lin Tian at this time. "Suppress him!" The 3 of them were pleasantly surprised and excited. They rushed toward Lin Tian. One of them spoke, and the 3 of them each held up a great divine technique. The reincarnation body was the strongest physique. The origin of such a physique contained infinite possibilities. It was a supreme treasure. Damn it! The white tiger was shocked and angry. They had already hidden so well. This place was a very ordinary green mountain. Generally speaking, no cultivators would come here. They did not expect that they would be discovered in just a few days. Lin Tian's face was also solemn. He used the king's domain with the cultivation of a 9th heaven saint and blasted the 3 of them with the reincarnation map. "Let's go!" After the reincarnation map was released, he directly called the white tiger and the little Tai Chu to retreat. At this time, he could no longer summon the 7-colored divine sword. Although his battle strength was strong, he was only a 9th heaven saint. When he used the reincarnation forging technique, he might be able to kill a 1st heaven saint king expert, and contend with a 2nd heaven saint king expert. However, he was definitely no match for a 9th heaven saint king. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The man and the 2 beasts were very fast. They all cultivated strange movement techniques. In the blink of an eye, they had rushed far away. "Don't even think about escaping!" Among the 3 saint kings, someone spoke and all of them sped up to catch up. Lin Tian, the white tiger, and the little Tai Chu all maintained their speed at this time. The saint power outside their bodies was surging. In the blink of an eye, dozens of immortal mountains were left behind. That is? Cycle of reincarnation. In the past few days, the news of the birth of the reincarnation body had spread throughout the entire heaven realm of nihility. The appearance of the reincarnation body, Lin Tian, was also included in the news. Many cultivators naturally recognized Lin Tian. Behind him, that's 3 Saint Kings they are. There's no need to think about it. Those people must be trying to seize the reincarnation source origin. As for the 3 Saint Kings who were chasing after Lin Tian, these cultivators naturally guessed that their goal was to seize the reincarnation source. This was because in the past few days, countless experts had been searching for Lin Tian. Their goal was the reincarnation source. Moreover, the greed in the eyes of the 3 Saint Kings could not be concealed at all. Anyone with a discerning eye could instantly see through their intentions. The 3 Saint Kings' eyes were filled with greed and excitement. At this time, even though there were many cultivators looking at them, they did not care at all. They did not care that they were considered evil. This was because in the entire heaven realm of nihility, too many experts were searching for the reincarnation bodies. Their goal was to seize the reincarnation source. With so many people searching for the reincarnation bodies and seizing the reincarnation source, what else did they care about? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. They chased after Lin Tian, the little Taichu, and the white tiger. Their speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they were endless distance away. Lin Tian, the little Taichu, and the white tiger ran all the way. Along the way, they were seen by many cultivators, and all the cultivators were shocked. In the blink of an eye, another few dozen immortal mountains were left behind. They appeared on a relatively wide plain. There were even more cultivators in this place, but there were not many powerhouses. The strongest was only in the quasi-sage realm. Reincarnation body! Seeing Lin Tian, the reincarnation body, all the cultivators near the plain were moved. Their eyes could not help but shine with other lights. Everyone was shocked and shocked. At this moment, they were all staring at Lin Tian. There had never been a constitution in the world. The strongest constitution and the strongest bloodline. It was impossible not to attract attention even if he did not want to. The 3 Saint Kings were chasing after them. At this time, they had also caught up to the plain. Those 3 are 9th-tier Saint Kings. They want to seize the reincarnation source. The cultivators on the plain naturally also saw the 3 Saint Kings. Seeing them chasing after Lin Tian, they knew their purpose in an instant. Reincarnation body, the strongest constitution and the strongest bloodline. I really don't know if it's lucky or sad to have such a constitution. Someone sighed. The reincarnation body was very strong and very heaven-defying. It had the capital to be called invincible in the future. However, now that the reincarnation body was exposed, it immediately attracted the covetous eyes of all the experts in the world. It attracted the disaster of life and death. Was it a blessing or a curse? Whoosh! 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 The sound of the air being torn rang out one after another at an extremely fast speed. The 3 Saint Kings were getting closer and closer to Lin Tian and the others. After entering the plain here, they finally really closed in and appeared several zhang behind Lin Tian, the little Taichu, and the white tiger. Reincarnation body! You are ours! The 3 Saint Kings' eyes were filled with excitement and greed that could not be concealed. They raised their hands together and grabbed at Lin Tian. As for the little Taichu and the white tiger beside Lin Tian, the 3 Saint Kings did not care at all. In the blink of an eye, the 3 Saint Kings' big hands reached above Lin Tian's head. Saint Might intertwined around him. It was also at this time that Lin Tian, who had been running all the way forward, suddenly turned around with a ruthless and cold look in his eyes. Saint Light surrounded his hands, extremely dazzling. At this time, a Saint King Grade Seal was revealed. A destructive aura directly spread out like a mountain flood. The aura was terrifying. The 3 Saint Kings were shocked. I'll give it to you! Lin Tian's voice was cold as he interrupted the 3 Saint Kings. The Saint King Grade Seal in his hand was mixed with destructive energy. He shook his hand and threw it out, landing beside the 3 Saint Kings. The Saint King Grade Seal was obtained in the Kongming Dao sect. Previously, when he was in Wancheng Valley, he wanted to use it to deal with the 9th heavenly layer Saint King of the Celestial Court. However, the crocodile ancestor suddenly appeared and did not cause the seal to self-destruct. Now, he was being chased by 3 Saint Kings. During this process, he was not just simply running away. He was secretly triggering the Saint King grade seal to self-destruct. At this time, the self-destruction process reached its peak. Boom! When the seal landed beside the 3 Saint Kings, it immediately exploded. The shockwave of destruction immediately flooded the surroundings. The destructive wave was extremely terrifying. It was equivalent to a 5th heavenly layer Saint King self-destructing. The impact was shocking. The 3 9th heavenly layer Saint Kings could not dodge. They were immediately drowned by the destructive wave from the self-destruction of the seal. Immediately, there were miserable cries. At the same time, there was anger. 3 mists of blood exploded in the air. A shocking sand mist lingered in the air. Gravel flew everywhere. A huge crater with a diameter of more than 300 meters was blasted into the ground. It was extremely terrifying. Moreover, the destructive wave from the self-destruction of the seal continued to spread, spreading even further. Along the way, the ground collapsed inch by inch. It was a terrifying scene. This Chapter 2022. The self-destruction of a Saint King-level treasure artifact was naturally very terrifying. The destructive waves spread out. In the blink of an eye, the destructive waves spread out for over 200 meters, creating a huge crater that was over 200 meters wide. Sand and dust floated in the air as the destructive chi intertwined in the air. It was extremely terrifying. At the same time, blood, flesh, and bones floated in the air. They belonged to the 3 9th heavenly layer saint rulers who had been blown apart. Damn it! Shocked and furious voices rang out. They were rather weak. The bodies of the 3 saint rulers had been destroyed and cracks had appeared on their souls. However, they had not been destroyed in the end. At this moment, they had reformed their bodies. After regathering their Saint King grade bodies, the trio's faces were pale and their essence, chi, and soul were much weaker. The self-destruction of a Saint King-level treasure artifact had drowned them in such a terrifying destructive force. It was already a miracle that they had survived. You actually did this! They looked at Lin Tian in shock and anger. Saint rulers like them who had been saint rulers for tens of thousands of years did not even have a single one. Now, Lin Tian had actually destroyed a Saint King-level treasure artifact to deal with them. How could they have expected this? Previously, they had all heard that Lin Tian had an extremely powerful sword that could kill ordinary saint rulers. However, they did not care. After all, they were 9th heavenly layer saint rulers. Moreover, there were 3 of them. They did not think that a sword that could kill ordinary saint rulers was enough to threaten them. They were still thinking that after taking Lin Tian's samsara origin, they would obtain the sword as well. However, they did not think that Lin Tian would directly destroy a Saint King-level treasure artifact to deal with them. They had not expected this at all and had been heavily injured. Lin Tian looked at the 3 of them. His eyes were extremely cold, sharp, and cruel. He took a step forward. At this time, the 3 Saint Kings were severely injured by the self-destruction of the Saint King Grade Seal. Their combat strength was not even at the level of an ordinary Saint King. At most, they were comparable to a cultivator in the 3rd heaven of the Saint Realm. How could he be afraid? He moved extremely quickly. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived before the 3 of them. He raised his hand and swung the Chaotic Emperor's fist down. Dong! He activated the Primal Chaos Emperor fist with his cultivation at the peak of the 9th heaven of the Saint Realm. The might of his fist was terrifying as it shattered the void. The 3 Saint Kings immediately felt a chill run down their spines. Shocked and furious, they quickly retreated. This kind of punch was something none of them would have cared about when they were in their peak condition, but at this moment, all of them had been severely injured by the self-destruction of their Saint King grade seals and felt that it would be difficult for them to block this punch. They retreated quickly, but Lin Tian's punches were even faster. The next moment, the fist force directly enveloped the three of them. Pooh! 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 The three Saint Kings were instantly smashed into pieces by this punch. However, as ninth heavenly layer Saint rulers, the souls of the three of them were extremely tough. They did not disperse from Lin Tian's punch, reforming their bodies in the blink of an eye. Go! One of them gritted his teeth, unwilling to give up. He looked at Lin Tianyi with a face full of murderous intent and immediately retreated. The allure of the samsara source was infinite, but at this time, after being hit head-on by the self-destructing Saint King grade seals, all of them had suffered extremely heavy injuries and were far from being able to display their peak strength. At this time, in terms of combat power, they were no longer Lin Tian's opponent, so all they could do was flee. Although the reincarnation origin was infinitely tempting and had supreme value, their lives were undoubtedly more important. In a situation where they were certain that they could not obtain the reincarnation origin, it was naturally more important to protect their lives. Boom! At this moment, a hurricane swept over, and the white tiger flashed over. It was very fast, and the saint-level treasure light directly pressed down on the three of them. At the same time, the little Taichu also flashed over. The wings on its back flapped, and the six-colored divine light instantly spread out in all directions. Pooh! 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 Once again, the three Saint Kings were shattered, and blood splattered across the sky. The three of them were even more shocked and furious, quickly reforming their bodies. You three F***curs! The white tiger's voice was cold as it stood guard by the side. Ya! The little Taichu glared at the three of them, and the six-colored divine light lingered around its body. Lin Tian's eyes were cold and cruel. He stood in another position, and together with the little Taichu and the white tiger, they formed a triangle and surrounded the three Saint Kings in the middle. The three saint-level auras intertwined, directly sealing the space in all directions. The three Saint Kings immediately trembled. You! They could feel that at this moment, the space in all directions had been frozen, and they had no way of retreating at all. Lin Tian stared at the three Saint Kings, and his eyes were cold. Do it! Do it as cruelly as possible! He said coldly. Then, he directly moved. Golden pure yang flames surged out of his body, burning the void in all directions, and directly engulfing the three Saint Kings. In the blink of an eye, the golden divine fire completely engulfed the three of them. Ah! Immediately, the three Saint Kings let out miserable screams. They struggled continuously, wanting to put out the flames on their bodies, but then they realized that they could not put out the flames at all. Lin Tian's eyes were emotionless. At this moment, he used the pure yang flames, which were divine fire that could even burn divine power and doctrine principles. Under exquisite control, he slowly burned the three's flesh, divine souls, origin, and spiritual seeds bit by bit. The process was extremely painful, and it was completely an inhumane torture. Ah! The three of them screamed. Their flesh and blood were burned bit by bit into ashes, and their blood was evaporated bit by bit. Their saint power and God principles were also burned bit by bit. They were in extreme pain, and all of them fell to the ground, rolling desperately. Little Taichu said angrily. With a flap of its wings, the six-colored divine fire that was not weaker than the pure yang flames surged out. It was its innate divine fire, and at this moment, it surged toward the three of them. Under Lin Tian's guidance, it controlled its power like Lin Tian did, slowly burning the three's flesh, divine souls, origin, and spiritual seeds bit by bit. Previously, I obtained many ancient scriptures and divine techniques in that super-ancient tomb, and I've comprehended many of them. There's a very vicious technique that corrodes one's soul and erodes one's bones. Let's try it out. The white tiger sneered. Saint-level demonic power surged, and it performed that great technique. A strange demonic light directly enveloped the three of them. Ah! At this moment, the three of them trembled violently, and they let out even more miserable screams. They kept rolling on the ground, and kept struggling. This, Near the plains, many cultivators saw this scene and heard the three's screams. They could not help but tremble. At this moment, they could feel that the three Saint Kings were suffering inhumane torture. It could be said that they were living a life worse than death. Ah! Stop! Stop! Stop it! I beg you, stop! Ah! You're tuning into the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.